kind of work which I'll be working from home, because the work which we normally do here as the procurement, it involves documents, and those documents are here. And the documents are public documents, and nobody is allowed to go with them out of this organization. So whatever we'll be working from home, maybe these are just a start. We might be hearing that you're going to receive letters, and the letters are being issued.
According to KEMSA boss Mwadime, during the period when the workers will be at home, their responsibility will be fulfilled by officers of the National Youth Service, while those assigned to work at home are informed that they'll be involved in all stages of change.
We want the operations to be seamless, so it has meant that we reach out to certain organizations to assist us in just making sure that we move ahead during this review period. How many organizations? I think some of them are the ones that have been mentioned. You have mentioned NYS. How many? I don't have the numbers for now.
A family in the Bantu forest is crying for justice after their daughter died at a school under unclear circumstances. The family says the management of St. Mary's School Teresa of Avila, where she was studying, said their daughter had been ill for a week and then died while receiving treatment in hospital. However, some of her relatives said, according to students who were with their daughter during that period, she wasn't taken to hospital and the school nurse never bothered to check on her when she was informed that she was ailing. The school head teacher, Margaret Liaram, says the girl was being treated from the school by the nurse until Sunday, when she collapsed and died and was taken to hospital. Cabinet OCPD Jamlek Ngaruye says investigations into her cause of death are underway. The Federal Republic of Somalia, through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, has announced the expulsion of Deputy Special Representative of the African Union Commission, Simon Mulongo, from the country. In a statement addressed to the African Union Commission, Somalia said that Mulongo has been engaging in activities incompatible with AMISOM's mandate and Somalia's security strategy. Following the attacks in Samburu County that left at least 14 people killed and 5 others wounded in a fierce gun battle between cattle raiders and bandits at the troubled region, police have launched investigations and a manhunt into those who started the attack. Samburu County Commissioner Abdirazek Jaldesa said the fighting broke out in Suyan area after gunmen raided villages there on Wednesday night and stole about 1,000 animals. This sparked fierce fighting that spread from the ranch towards Baragoi town, which is a hotspot. Clashes between the rival cattle herding pastoralists in the region are common, with herders often carrying guns to protect their animals.
Immediately we received that information, we mobilized our teams, and by 9 p.m. yesterday night, we were able to recover around 90% of the animals which were earlier stolen. Unfortunately, we lost some lives. We'll do data follow-up to ensure that the animals which have not been traced will be traced in the course of the day.
And in international news, the US has raised the alarm of alleged plans by China to establish a military base in Kenya and extend its grip beyond economic and investment ties. It claimed that the planned base in Kenya is part of China's pursuit of a global military logistics network to counter the existing interests of superpower nations, including the US. That's the Newswire. I'm Leah Ubari.
If I'm found guilty, there is no problem. I'm willing to serve.
SpiceFM, Nyeri.
All right, looks like we're starting Friday morning off right. Not much traffic in most parts of the city streets, at least. We're seeing a little bit of traffic then coming through into the city via Pangani. And it's going to probably pick up as we go along, coming from the Thika Superhighway today. But usual suspects seem not to have woken up just yet, except, of course, for that Haile Selassie Avenue coming through from the Kamkunji roundabout. Jogo Road also is picking up quite some coming in from the Makadara train station, getting into the city. Mombasa Road also starting to pick up right now. But again, Friday doesn't look too terrible, at least for now. We will see that traffic pick up also along Uhuru Highway this morning. But for now, let's take a look, see what it looks like in about half an hour. If you're out, well done. If not, you still have a little bit of time. You can talk to us through this morning on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text on 40127.
Are you ready? Okay.
Spice FM. This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the
Very good morning
room.
to you. Let's start the day at 7 minutes after 6 on this 5th day of November 2021, the Friday of the week. This is the 5th day. It's the first Friday of November. Kenya's biggest conversation begins now. Wherever you're tuned in, we're glad that you're able to join us. We're live on SpiceFM and we're live streaming the show on SpiceFM KE, on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Twitter. And today, we're beginning the show from the end. Yes. So we'll do a newspaper review a little while later because we have a guest who has come in early in the morning because he has other commitments, and we agreed, all right, because we want to have an important conversation with you. Can we accommodate one another? And he said, yes. And he's here with us. The Director of Public Prosecutions, Noordin Haji, joins us in the Situation Room. Good morning, sir.
Morning.
It's good to have you.
Thank you very much.
This early morning.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
It's good to see you as well, looking as good as you looked the last time you were here. You're not aging at all.
Are you sure? With all the grey hair.
Yeah. Oh, no, that is not aging.
Yeah, it's not age.
There's a young man here who has been like this since we met him.
At the tender age of 63, he doesn't feel old at all.
He hasn't changed.
And agreed.
Not one single bit. But a DPP, that is the hot seat, and welcome to the hot seat. But now, hot seat for you is...
every day.
Look, you are battle hardened. In fact, last week you quoted as having said, you are battle hardened. You have been to Somalia and survived, and you came back. You have been in this job, you have survived. So even if we warm up that seat to the degrees of about 1,500 degrees, it's just going to be lukewarm for you. So
I'm not sure about that.
Welcome to the lukewarm seat.
Thank you, Latif.
So what you were talking about last week in Mombasa, so there was the annual conference of the National Council on Administration of Justice, which brings together various actors in the justice sector.
Yeah.
The Chief Justice chairs it. We have the Office of the DPP, the Attorney General's Office, the Inspector General of Police, and the investigating agencies, EACC, DCI, Correctional Services, all of them were meeting to have a conversation, like you always do every year, to review the progress in people accessing justice and the delivery of justice to the citizens. A number of things came out there. One of the things is what you said yourself, that it's very important that we all work together in harmony. We all understand the roles that we've been given by the Constitution and by statute, and we all do that work with collaboration with one another.
Yeah.
Why did you find it important and necessary to remind the people in the meeting of the job that they ought to be doing?
Well, first of all, thank you for giving me this opportunity. And as to the question, I felt it was important for me to put that out, because even the theme of the meeting itself was collaboration, coordination, and coordination within the sectors. And I felt I didn't need to be a hypocrite by saying rosy things to Kenyans when really there was a problem. And I thought that would have been, or should have been, or would be the most important forum to raise those issues, so that we can actually tackle them as they should, instead of just putting the things under the rug, acting as if everything is okay. Yet we have a problem, and that problem would actually affect our effectiveness to discharge our mandate to the Kenyans. So I thought that was important. I didn't want to be a hypocrite.
What is the problem? Let me just quote what you said, and then you can expound on this. When I reflect, two things stand out: unity and service. The police are charged with investigations and enforcement. There are other constitutional and investigative agencies with special mandate, such as the EACC, the judiciary for adjudication, and correctional professional services for rehabilitation, reformation, and reintegration. The Constitution envisages independent institutions cooperating in an independent manner, in which even when there is tension, these are healthy and necessary to ensure the wheels of justice move seamlessly as each partner understands and plays their role with the realization that each partner's role is equally important. And then he went on to say, at times, partners overstep the boundaries of their constitutional mandate and then they delve into other people's mandates.
Yeah.
What's the problem, on a DPP?
Exactly what you said, that certain individuals have attempted or feel that things should be done the way they were done before. There was a reason why we had the 2010 Constitution. And I think I don't need to take Kenyans through the history that we went through. The purpose of the 2010 Constitution was to correct some of the wrongs that were done over the years, before independence, during independence, after, and during the multi-party era. The purpose of all documents, especially the Constitution, it serves as a framework and a guidance of how Kenyans who voted through a referendum wanted things to be done in certain ways and certain manners. And what this Constitution sought to do was to separate the various roles of the justice sector. And that's why I said, if it's investigators, their mandate is to investigate, prosecutors to prosecute, and the judiciary to adjudicate. And then you have the correctional services to reform an individual who has been found guilty and incarcerated in court. So you would not expect that a prosecutor would attempt to go to Parliament and ask to have the powers of the judge. And neither should the investigators, because this Constitution demarcated those roles. And even when it said that you could have additional investigative agencies, then you would have to refer to the Inspector General. If you need additional prosecution services, then you have to refer to the DPP. Because the Constitution is very clear that the Director of Public Prosecution exercises state powers. And state powers is beyond. State powers is the state of Kenya itself, and it's beyond even the government. And therefore, anything that therefore comes under that, it will have to be referred to the Director of Public Prosecutions. So, for example, if KRA wants to be able to prosecute, they would have to refer to the Director of Public Prosecution for him to give that consent. And it's captured in the various legislations. So when individuals attempt to hoard those powers and they want to be investigators and also prosecutors, then of course I have to defend that position, because that position is in the Constitution, and that's what Kenyans wanted. It's not about me as Noordin Haji, but it's about the Constitution that I swore to protect. And that's basically what I'm trying to do.
What is evident is that the job of the DPP is not a popularity contest.
No, it's not.
And in pursuit of the mandate that is given to you, I think the headwinds that you speak of seems to be shared universally. But more so if you are given a tag of being a reformer. Reformer in this sense, anyone who seeks to actually abide by the strict dictates of the law, in many instances is seen as a reformer. Because if you live in a country like Kenya, where what is considered the norm is often completely against what the law actually states. And as you have pointed out, there are people who would like to maintain that situation. That was a preamble. Now my question. How do you ensure that you keep body, soul, and mind together? And how do you ensure your safety and your sanity in pursuing this job?
First of all, thank you for, I don't know whether I should thank you, you've put me in hot soup. Thank you for referring to me as a reformer. I never looked at it that way. But I think the reforms have already been done by having this constitution. For us, is to just safeguard the constitution and ensure that it is implemented as it should be. But your question, for me, I think it's my family and my religion that keeps the sanity, and also the belief that I'm doing this for the sake of Kenyans, and that what I'm trying to safeguard here is for Kenyans and for my children also in the future, because if some of these things are allowed to be done the way they've been done before, and we just sit down comfortable, I could very well do that. But I don't think it will serve my interests, Kenyans' interests, and the interest of the future of this country. So because of that, my conscience is very clear. I'm comfortable, I'm happy, and I'm actually... some people don't seem to understand that the more they bring the challenge, the happier I am to face it head on.
To rise up to the occasion.
Yeah, and hopefully I'll be able to do that. They're not cowering me in any way, as I've said before. So I think my family, my religion, and my country, love of my country.
Has your life been in danger in any way? Have you been threatened?
Many times. If you look at the reports that were released during the 2013 Westgate, I think there were some intelligence reports that were there. Me and my family were actually targets, my late father and myself, by Al-Shabaab. And Al-Shabaab continues to say that they will deal with us as a family and as an individual because of the work that we did, some of which I cannot discuss here. That has been there. I've been threatened even during this job by individuals who felt that my decision either to charge or not to charge was not favorable. And this is part of the work, and I think when I took this job I knew that this would be part of the territory, and I knew that if I was to ensure and to try and stick to the Constitution, then that threat would, of course, escalate. But I'm ready for that.
Right. There have been calls from many quarters asking you to resign or asking you to leave the position. Would you say that there is a misunderstanding of your mandate as, defined or just prescribed by the Constitution, as well as the Act, that there is a misunderstanding, and that's why they're asking you to leave the position? Or are there other issues at play here from what you see? More recently than not, these calls have come out more than they had previously. Why do you think this is?
Well, I don't think... Okay, but there are individuals maybe who do not understand the mandate. First of all, I must make it very clear that as prosecutors, we don't investigate. I know there are certain jurisdictions, especially civil jurisdictions, maybe jurisdictions that are in maybe South America and part of Europe that are civil in nature, and prosecutors actually oversee investigations and are part of investing in investigations themselves. In Kenya, it's a bit different. We are common law. There is that separation. Although when a file comes, then the prosecutor can't direct. Once the file is complete, then can direct the investigator that the file is complete or not complete. So sometimes there's that blurring, and people tend to confuse that. But for this, I think it's very particular. It's malicious, and it's very targeted because of certain decisions that we've made, whether to charge or not to charge. The Constitution is very clear that I can be removed from office through the Public Service Commission, petitions to the Public Service Commission for particular reasons that have been outlined in the Constitution. One, either I'm incompetent, and they would have to prove what incompetent is. I'm insane. I'm bankrupt, or I've been involved in gross misconduct. But to take me to task to the PSC because of a decision that I've made is not part of the requirements for removal. Those are issues that can be canvassed and challenged in court. And somebody can go either through judicial review or can go and apply for to be allowed to prosecute privately because they're not satisfied with the decision that I've made. And that's why I'm saying it is very purposely targeted at me because of decisions that I've made and not because I'm incompetent or I've been involved in gross misconduct or I'm bankrupt or insane. Yeah.
You know, your office is a very important cog in this wheel of justice. And you have certain powers. So, for instance, you have the powers to direct the investigative agencies to commence an investigation. Yeah. And when they do that, you also have the power to determine whether you're going to court or not.
Yes.
And I think what we've been hearing lately, especially from the office of the DCI, is that you're frustrating their work. In 2019, you launched the guidelines for the decision to charge.
Yes.
And what you said, now, okay, this is what we'll be considering as thresholds. And the DCI seems to be saying, even despite there being some clear guidelines on how you shall make your decision, we still feel that you are coming back to us and saying, well, this is insufficient, and we are not convinced when you say it's insufficient evidence. How do you interact with the investigative agencies when they bring a file to you and you feel that we haven't reached the threshold? Do you explain to them the threshold and what ought to be done?
Yes, we explain the threshold. Actually, what we have is what we call a central intake. So we've started that pilot project in Nairobi, and we've digitized it. And once an investigator, for example, or police officer brings a file, then they're taken through the guidelines. And we've trained quite a number of police officers for them to understand what the guideline says and what is required. And if there are certain documentations that are missing in terms of the evidence that is required, then the prosecutor will explain to the police officer and then the investigating officer why we feel that the evidence is not sufficient. And we'll even guide them in terms of what are the documents that are missing and how they can go about getting them for us so that we can then be able to go to court. You see, for a long time, what has been happening is a very skeleton file is brought. We are forced to make a decision on a very skeleton file, just saying that Latiff was in the car and had a scuffle. Sometimes you don't even know who the parties are. Then we have to charge you. Once we've charged, the investigators now move on to another case. So now it's the prosecutor playing cat and mouse. Bring this evidence. We want this document. We want this. Then when you're in court, you look very incompetent. And that's when then the magistrate says,
insufficient evidence.
There's no evidence here. We are coming here for the last 1 year, 2 years. The case is not moving. Either withdraw the case or, bring the documentations that are required. So as prosecutors, then we are in a rock and a hard place. When you go back to the investigators, they have moved on. Some of them are, they tell you we are overwhelmed, we have so much work. So at the end of it, who suffers? It's the Kenyan. And that's why we came with these strict guidelines. And there is no way the guidelines will work without us being very strict and requiring that, whatever is required before a decision is made should be in the file. We are now not in the game of going to court and waiting for documentation for 2-3 years. If you look at some of the cases like Goldenberg and Anglo Leasing before 2010, they've been there for 15-16 years. How to explain to Kenyans? And I think one of the commitments that I made when I was in Parliament, taking over the office, was that I will work on that. And I was very serious. And this is the gist of the problem.
The feeling, though, by the DCI Director George Kinoti is that there is, some discrimination in the application of these guidelines or the decision to charge. So, for instance, he said, we must apply the law equally without any discrimination. Otherwise, it's only the weak who will be subjected to the law, not the mighty. For us, the police, we treat all equally. There's no big man or small man when it comes to crime. We don't discriminate. Seems to apply that they come to you and they say, so there's this big person who's a judge who you should be taking to court. And you're saying there's no sufficient evidence. The DCI feels, what do you mean? You're now becoming a stumbling block.
No, you see, the law should be equally applied to everybody. And if you look at the bulk of our cases, actually cases that deal with the common mwananchi. And it is these cases that we have a big problem in terms of the kind of files that are brought to us. Not these big cases. Some of these big cases are complex in nature. Sometimes they delay because of the kind of compilation and the documents that are required. But if you go down to Makadara or Kibera, you will see that we are very strict, even with cases that are brought affecting the common mwananchi. So, for example, as ODPP, we said very clearly that these old colonial cases like touting, people are being charged for touting. Ile kusema shilingi moja, shilingi 10 bus. They used to go and round up youth. If you don't pay 50 bob or 10 unaletwa for us to be charged without a file, nothing. So we decided that some of those cases we are not going to deal with them anymore. In essence, we've even suspended them. And we have been very, 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 very strict. Now there is this thing called maeneo. If you are in maeneo fulani, you are rounded up and charged. No file, you don't even know what you're going to tell the magistrate. We have said no. And really, these big cases are just an excuse because, Kenyans will be more emotional with them.
Sure.
But the gist of the problem is that there are these cases that have been affecting wananchi that we are very strict on, and that we have said that the guidelines will have to be followed. This is what is bothering people.
Let's take a break at this point. 29 minutes after 6. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room. Having a conversation with the Director of Public Prosecutions, Noordin Haji. He's with us this early morning as we look at this apparent supremacy battles in the criminal justice system. So does everybody understand their job, and what's the role of the DPP in this long chain? Let's take this quick break, take a look at the traffic. We will continue shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
If I'm found guilty, there is no problem. I'm willing to serve. I have no problem. Jails are meant for human beings.
They say a society gets the leadership it deserves. If you have a corrupt, crooked and rotten society like we have in Kenya, then of course they will get that kind of a leadership.
I think the president should dissolve parliament. That's the best solution at this moment in time. Dissolve parliament.
All of you go home.
Yes, we all go home.
How are we encouraging other people who might have new and creative ideas? Young people who are making money without any government help. They are just buying their own bundles. They are going on TikTok and making money. KRA is coming after them.
I've been in parliament for 15 years. We have been unable to pass the gender law. And yet no presidential candidate is talking about it now. Because we are fake. The truth is, all the men refused to vote for that law.
What did Sonko do to Pumwani Maternity Hospital?
Yeah, he
with
cleaned
his
it
own
up.
money.
Cleaned it with his own money. That was him as an individual.
Yeah. And I did not say he was cleaning his own money. I was saying he cleaned it.
Foot, mouth. Foot, mouth. Eric.
Okay.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Cloudy conditions in Nairobi this morning at 16, highs of 23, lows of 16 today. It's partly sunny at 16 in Nakuru, highs of 26 and lows of 14. 14 will be the low in Nyeri, where it's sunny at 15, going to highs of 23. And Eldoret will have some sun this morning at 24. That'll be the high, coming down to lows of 13. It's currently at 15. Light rain in parts of Mombasa at 25, highs of 32 and lows of 24. While in Malindi, it's sunny at 27. We'll see highs of 31 and lows of 26. It's sunny in Kisumu at 20. Highs of 26 and lows of 18, while in Kakamega this morning it's mostly clear at 17 with highs of 27. We'll see lows of 15. Let's out into Kampala where it's raining this morning at 18, highs of 24 and lows of 16. Dar es Salaam is mostly sunny already at 25. Highs of 31 and lows of 24. Johannesburg this morning is clear at 15. That'll be today's low, going to highs of 25. And we're looking at rain in Lagos at 24. Highs of 32 today. Kinshasa's clear at 24. That'll be the low. Highs of 33. Looking quickly out into Beijing, it's 10 degrees and cloudy. Highs of 17. Paris at 8 degrees is clear this morning, going to highs of 12 and lows of 1. Clear conditions in London at 5, highs of 11 today. And New York still Thursday night is 8 degrees. Coming into Friday, we'll see highs of 10 and lows of 4.
Are you ready? Okay.
Spice FM.
And voila, just like that, things have changed, well, just a little bit on the Thika Superhighway. We have traffic that's building up right around the Pangani underpass, but nothing too crazy, at least for now. Survey driving all the way through to Outer Ring, that is absolutely clear. It looks good for Friday. This is a time to be out and take advantage of the clear roads today. It's building up on Kiambu Road, coming out towards that junction, not a problem. Coming out of Westlands, though, Mudangari, that whole area through to James Gishuru, out onto Waiyaki Way, looking slow. Don't forget Red Hill Link Road, that'll help you out this morning. Wilson Airport on Langata Road, that's where we see some build-up as well. And Mombasa Road at the Imara Daima stretch is where the issue is. But we're not yet in traffic hour. We'll take a look at what it looks like in a short while. Talk to us, though, on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text on 40127.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
It continues. Kenya's biggest conversation in the Situation Room this morning is Eric Latiff, Ndu Okoh, CT Muga, and our guest, the Director of Public Prosecutions, Noordin Haji. Noordin, you took office in April 2018, and immediately you took office, you went to work, and there was a lot of goodwill from the public when they started seeing, there's movement in the course of justice. Goodwill from the other actors in the system, and also goodwill from the national executive. Over time, that goodwill seems to be waning. In fact, I'm even looking at some of the comments, and people are saying, okay, so he has lately turned out to be sluggish. We are losing hope on him. Just one comment from Francis Odipo. Now, if we look at the number of things that you were doing in those first 2 years, 2018, 2019, there was a lot of movement. The Kamata Fridays, big cases, big arrests, taking people to court. And then we look back at the progress of those cases and you start asking questions. What's happening? The Aurora and Kimorel Dam, you have recently gone and now said, let's consolidate files. You have said, let's drop charges against some people so who will become state witnesses. And in fact, we're even asking ourselves on this show, so 2 years down the road, the DPP has just now realized that the case number 1 and case number 2 are similar and the witnesses are similar. Where was the DPP all this time? I mean, how do you explain some of these things that are now happening in court?
Thank you. On the Kimorel and on Aurora case, first of all, the separation of the files was a direction by the courts. And then secondly, we had a strategy that I will explain. But what you said, therein lies the problem. And that is the problem that we are trying to deal with now. That when we go to court and we charge, we are ready and we have the evidence and we are able to proceed seamlessly. And this is part of the problem that some of my colleagues don't seem to understand. that, fine, we can rush to court to please the mass, but at the end of it, then you are stuck there, trying to get the documents that you want, trying to apply for mutual legal assistance from other countries. That takes ages. So we had to sit down on the drawing table and say, hey, when we rush, there's that feel-good effect. And then after a while, then Kenyans now come and ask, what is this? You guys are not proceeding. So do we do that to play to the gallery, or do we bite the bullet and say we are going to do this very systematically and at the end get the desired results that are required? If you go to any country, for example, in the States and other countries that we look up to in terms of democracy and all that, you will see that cases take 3-4 years before they're brought into court. Because what they're doing is they're being very, very thorough, especially the big cases. If you look at some of the cases that involve corruption, just pick any that has been brought. You will see that they've taken 3-4 years back and forth between prosecutors and investigators, ensuring that the documentations are there, ensuring that when we go to court, we are able to tell the court, here's the money. We have traced this money, we have traced the assets, and we are willing now, we are ready to go forward, even if it will take 1 year in court. We are ready to go forward, but we have everything and we are ready to disclose at the click of a finger. The practice for a long time has been, we charge, then now you start dancing in court. Leo tupatia hii time, investigator iko busy, ako Mombasa, mwingine sijui ako hapi, ameenda cause, amefanya hii. Nobody takes these things seriously. So when you come back and now say we are going to take this thing seriously, and we must be ready at the click of a finger when we are before the magistrate, and if he says we are ready to go, you are ready to go. But there is resistance to that. But this is where we must go. It is hard. It's not going to be easy. But as a country, we must move forward. Justice must seem to be done at all times. This is what we are trying to achieve.
But how do you balance that? Because there's still the public interest angle, and there's the public still maintaining trust in the investigation and prosecution agencies. So we
Latiff,
see that there's corruption here. Yeah. There is corruption, let's just pick an agency, KEMSA.
Yeah. Yes.
All right, so there's all this corruption talk, and if you say that we're going to take 5 years before we see the DPP taking people to court, in the 5 years' time, people will have lost confidence.
So the other side of the coin is this. We rush, we charge. The criminals know what we are charging them for. As you're waiting for the documentations, they're clearing and ensuring that they're destroying some of the evidence. So 5 years down the line, you get bashed. Yeah, the case collapses. You don't recover anything. Sasa jameni, are we going to continue like that? What we are saying, it will not take 5 years. It can take a year, but let it be done thoroughly. Yeah. And if, for example, there are documents that have been destroyed, and there are many ways of going about that. We can charge the people who have done that. We can suspend people as they wait. We can freeze their accounts. We can freeze their assets. But get the case, ready, in a position where we are able to prove beyond reasonable doubt that this individual committed that crime. That's what we want to do. And once that is accepted, then you will see that you don't even need the 1 year. Yeah, depending on how complex the crime is.
There's you mentioned some of the explanations you hear. People are overwhelmed. There isn't enough time. People have been transferred. But the people who are involved in these processes are professionals. If it is the investigative arm of the government, these are people who are trained. This is what they're trained to do. So when we have a situation in this country where we are constantly dealing with cases that are thrown out of court, and it's always there. It's like the magistrate gives your officer addressing down and says, what on earth do you think you're doing? Why do you bring these cases before you plan them? Now, this is my thinking. how do people who are well trained, people who know what they're supposed to do, bring about a situation where we are always dealing with something that seems to be amiss, and yet it is their duty to ensure that nothing of this sort is actually amiss? I am saying, not you, that it bespeaks of a deliberate effort to actually sabotage the end result that is required. Meaning, let this thing go to court. You know very well what is going to happen because you are in charge of the evidence. You know what you can do with the evidence. If it isn't there, it'll stay in court. It'll either be forgotten, and don't we have cases upon cases in this country where somebody even wonders? I remember a story I was being told about one former, well, he's a politician, Koigwa Mwere, and he told this friend of mine that one of the things that he realized in the time when he was detained a number of times.
Yeah.
He said, sometimes what would happen is they would actually forget they've detained you. So you'd be languishing in prison thinking, but they've long forgotten. I mean, they arrested you, they threw you in, but they've forgotten. So 3 years down the line, someone says, hey, where's this guy? Oh, you mean he's still in? Oh, please, remove him. There's no... Now, that was in a time gone by. Would we be wrong if we say that some of these things that we witness are a clear indication of a deliberate, a purposed activity meant to ensure that just the justice that we're seeking is not actually arrived at?
Mzee Kijana, let me put it this way. We have been so used to doing that that it has become a norm. Even when actually you're not doing it deliberately, but it's become practice and customary to do some of these things. You know, just where boss we fanya tu iende bana, itoke hapa kwa desk yangu. Sometimes it's not even deliberate. It's just it has just been inculcated in us, and this is what we're trying to change. And this is where the resistance is, as they say, you know, change is not easy. But we are trying to do that. And we are having a lot of resistance, but hopefully we'll get there. Some of the resistance is just that people just don't want to change because it's cumbersome. You know, it will, you know, you need to use your brain because this is a very complex case. You will have to look for experts. Sasa hii kazi imekuwa ngumu. But you see, things have changed. The magistrates that are sitting there today are very switched on individuals. You're not going to just go and say ati aliiba. He will ask you aliiba vipi na ilifika vipi kwake na hii pesa iko wapi. So how do I explain that if without having the documentations and the proper charts to show how the monies were stolen, who was involved, and you know how the whole scheme and conspiracy came about.
Noordin, even as you say that, I'm also looking at a situation, yes, indeed, where things have been done a certain way for the longest period of time, and that what it would then spell out to the members of the public is that there's a reluctance actually to justice, right? That's on one side. But isn't it possible also that there is a reluctance to actually bring some of these folks to book, in the sense that, look, nobody wants to go to jail, whether you've done it or not, right? Nobody wants to be prosecuted. So people will go above and beyond their own capacity, even possibly working with people in your very own office to make sure that these things are not done. So that there's a circumvention of justice, even while you're here, tooth and nail sweating, trying to get it done. There are those who are working within your very system to make sure these things do not come to light. Is that reality still not there?
Yeah, it is still there. It's all over. You can never, as I said when we were just chatting here, first of all, I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not perfect. I'm human. There are certain things that I might have made mistakes with. I'm trying to correct some of those things. Some of the perception that I had when I came in, once the reality hit, I discovered Allah. You know? Of course, there are people within my own system, within the whole justice sector. They don't want change. That's all over, all over the world. These things happen, and I am cognizant of that. what we are doing is we are trying to create a culture change within the ODPP, and hopefully it will have a ripple effect to the whole justice sector. That's what we are trying. We are trying to do as ODPP.
How important do you think communication is to the people of Kenya?
It's
when
very
these
important.
things you're doing, letting people know, even if you can't do a step by step, but keeping Kenyans abreast of what is going on. Because again, there is that mentality that the small cases, you'll be able to find this information really quickly. The big cases, whether or not you're dealing with, external documentation or external processes that need to be brought into, the thought is that, all right, the little fish will be caught much quicker than the bigger ones, and that's where the interest is. Somebody steals a loaf of bread, and by the end of the day, they're in for 10 years, right? But somebody steals hundreds of millions, and they're walking about scot-free. Understanding the process is simple if it's explained to you. So where does communication play a role here in terms of what your office is doing?
I must say we're trying our best. We have the ODPP Cafe, for example. Within Twitter and Facebook, we try and explain our positions. That's why I'm here today, to try and explain what we are doing. And I think as ODPP, we have been as open as possible. Probably even sometimes we've been accused of being too open. Sasa wewe kwa nini unazungumza sana bwana? And it's only because we are trying to explain to the Kenyan public. We had outreach programs that we were going to the public. We went to Kayole, we were planning, but then COVID then kicked in. We are now trying to see if we can restart that. And explaining to the Kenyans so that they understand their rights and they understand why we are making certain decisions. We've been doing that, and we've been really trying our best. Hopefully it's working, and Kenyans are getting what we want, and we will strive to try and explain more. What we've also tried to do is not to be malicious, not to be vindictive. Hii ni kazi tu. So nikikisema file haiko tayari, I'm not fighting you, Latiff, because you're the IO who brought this. Ni kazi tu nakwambia hii haiko. It's not personal. And we have ensured that we are not personal. While certain quarters have been very personal to the extent that they sponsor people to remove some of their colleagues from office. But we have tried to be as professional as possible.
Right.
That's why I said this isn't a popularity contest.
No, it's not.
When you refer to a reform agenda, yes, the Constitution of Kenya is considered a reform document, but it isn't reform until it is actualized. I mean, for instance, how many people know the founding fathers of the American Constitution? How many people actually know them? People know Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin. But the person who's known more than anybody else is Abraham Lincoln. Because he operationalized it. The one thing is remembered for the emancipation of slaves. Now,
and he was killed for that.
I think you have actually read my mind, because it's unfortunate that the process of reform involves stepping on toes which are actually where they shouldn't be. I mean, it's a path that people are meant to be walking. Someone has gone and put their foot there. But let me ask the question. Do you really think that the efforts that you are putting in will bear fruit, and that a culture of doing right can actually be established within the system that you are currently in charge of?
I'm hopeful that as Kenyans we can achieve that. The fact that wewe unafahamu it just speaks volumes, that not in a bad way, but I'm just saying a lot of Kenyans want to see change. And they actually want to see the actualization, as you said, of the Constitution itself, and of all the legal documents that we have, so that they're just not mere papers, but they're living documents that are guiding us for a better Kenya. And I'm hopeful, because wherever you go, Kenyans, want to see that change. I'm happy that people are taking us to task, for example. I've said in Swahili, kukosolewa si kukosana. There's no way that we can change or make ODPP, for example, better without understanding some of the criticism that are out there. And we're happy to take them and see how constructively we can better ourselves. And that Kenyans are switched on and they're following, whether it's through Twitter or wherever, it encourages us that we are on the right path, and that Kenyans want to change. They want to see the change, and that hopefully we are going to be that change catalyst.
I'm looking at what you've said. I mean, you got into office and you've taken a step back now and seen there are very many things that have been happening. We are taking cases to court, and then we realize we don't have all the legs to stand on in this particular case. They say in Kiswahili, mtego wa panya uanasa waliomo na wasiokuwemo. Right? A mousetrap will capture the culpable and the innocent. Now I'm speaking for the innocent. With the cases that are there in court, just from the big cases, even to the small cases,
yes,
are you in a position to just review all of them? And for the sake of the innocent, because we've said it here before, when somebody is taken by the DPP or the prosecutor to court, you get into a system. You're bonded by court. That means your property and your money is held by court. Your travel documents are held by court. Your life is basically on hold until this case shall complete. Now, there are people who are genuinely innocent and there are people who are genuinely guilty. And it's only upon prosecution that it shall be determined. But if you look at the files, is it possible for you to see, all right, in this particular cases, I have very many innocent people. Can I just drop charges and start afresh?
Yes.
For the sake of the innocent.
And that's why you have the word miscarriage of justice. And this happens all over the world. If you look at, for example, I like referring to the States because a lot of Kenyans look up to that and aspire to be like the United States of America. There's a lot of cases of miscarriage of justice. There was a particular, I can't remember, but in New York, for example, 9 individuals who were prosecuted. And at the end, when this was reviewed 30 years later, they were found innocent. And of course, as ODPP, if we're asked upon to review, we review. And that's why when documents come, we look at them thoroughly. And if there isn't sufficient evidence, we are not willing to proceed because we don't want to be accused of or end up being involved in miscarriage of justice. That happens. We are cognizant of that and we try our best. At the end of it, we are also humans. You can make mistakes. Sometimes the way the evidence is compiled, you never know the interest or the intentions of the investigator, for example, or even the prosecutor. So there are instances. There's quite a number of them in our system, and we are trying our best to review them. For example, even the miscarriage of justice, even when we had a program that was called All for Justice, and we went all over the country. And in Nakuru, we found an individual who has been in remand for 14 years. Remand, yes, in Nakuru, for 14 years. And when you even ask for the file, it is in tatters. Hata ujui uanze wapi. So it's happening. And it's unfortunate, and we are trying our best to review those things.
A question,
please go ahead.
A question which could be a message, and many could be thinking, hoping. Are you corruptible?
Hopefully not. And maybe that's part of the problem, because if I was corrupt, hizo petition ingekuwa a different kind of petition. And I pray to God that I don't fall into the trap.
You know, there's a matter we bring up in the studio ever so often, but with regards to our police service. It's not your purview, but as a citizen you can comment. Do you really believe that the arms of government that are charged with investigative matters, do you feel that they're adequately resourced to do what they're supposed to do?
Well, first of all, you know, there are bad apples within the police, and there are individuals who probably should not be there because they don't have the requisite. But a majority of the police are doing a great job, and a majority of them want to do better. Of course, as a country, we have limitation in terms of resources. But I think if you look at the last 4 or 5 years, a lot of resources have been injected into the police. But I believe more can be. If we have the means, then more should be done to the police. We are discussing about corruption cases, but there are many other cases that they're dealing with. They're dealing with, for example, terrorism very effectively. Over time, we've built resilience. Organized crime, for example, we are prosecuting a lot of organized crimes. There's even cyber crime that people probably still don't know that it's happening in Kenya. But the investigators are doing a great job there. Capacity has been built, both of the police and even the intelligence, in terms of being able to collect and being able to face those challenges. So there's very good work that is being done. And unfortunately, these small differences in terms of especially corruption cases has brought out something that is not as big as people would think.
Right.
If you go down to the counties, we are working very well. Both investigators and prosecutors, and the police are trying their best. Of course, you have bad apples, but hopefully that is something you can invite the IG here
to come and discuss. As we conclude the conversation this morning, Noordin Haji, speak to Kenyans. They're all seeing this. I mean, you have been taken before the Public Service Commission. The number of petitions have been lodged.
And more are going to be lodged.
And more are coming. Speak to Kenyans today and talk to them about the job that you're doing and why they should continue believing that Noordin Haji is the man for this job.
I thought I've been doing that all the time.
Summarize it now.
One more time.
Well, as I said, it's a culture that we have to change, and we are trying to do that as ODPP. We are trying to be the catalyst that would bring change in terms of how effective the justice system can be. Prosecutors are referred to as the guardians to the justice sector, in the sense that we are the gatekeepers. Anything that needs to come to the judiciary, then ODPP is the one that does it. And we are trying to do that, not for our sake, not for my sake, but for the sake of Kenyans. We are trying to build institutions and not individuals.
Okay.
And that is where the resistance is. But we are hopeful that we'll be able to do that. And we are asking Kenyans to be patient for us to realize, so that the wheels of justice work and Kenyans can see them working. Okay. We don't want to play to the gallery, because if you do that, then there is a side effect to it, which is ineffectiveness and delays.
And miscarriage of justice.
Yeah.
Noordin Haji, the Director of Public Prosecutions, thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you, sir.
Come again soon. And it's important, and I think it's good that you've even said it yourself, it's important that these offices are open to scrutiny.
Yeah.
Let us all raise our concerns about the ODPP, about the DCI, about the police, about the judiciary. Asante sana.
Asante sana. God bless.
Have a lovely day. Good morning. It's 7 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning, this is the Newswire. I'm Kubada. DPP Noordin Haji says the calls for him to leave office are malicious because of decisions he has made not to investigate some cases, a role that isn't his to play. He, however, says there are clear reasons in the Constitution that would call for him to leave office, and none of those raised at the Public Service Commission warrant for the move.
For this, I think it's very particular. It's malicious and it's very targeted because of certain decisions that we've made, whether to charge or not to charge. The Constitution is very clear that I can be removed from office through petitions to the Public Service Commission for particular reasons that have been outlined in the Constitution. One, either I'm incompetent, I'm insane, I'm bankrupt, or I've been involved in gross misconduct. But to take me to task to the PSC because of a decision that I've made is not part of the requirement for removal. Those are issues that can be canvassed and challenged in court.
Haji, while being interviewed on SpiceFM Situation Room, also said he ensures his safety and sanity in the job by the belief that he's serving right for the future of the country. He says that despite the attacks he gets from individuals who want to run the office their way, he must follow the Constitution.
If some of these things are allowed to be done the way they've been done before, and we just sit down comfortable, I could very well do that. But I don't think it will serve my interests, Kenyans' interests, and the interest of the future of this country. So because of that, my conscience is very clear. I'm comfortable, I'm happy, and I'm actually, some people don't seem to understand that the more they bring the challenge, the happier I am to face it head on.
The DPP also said that he has been threatened severally together with his family, but that doesn't stop him from making the right decisions.
If you look at the reports that were released during the 2013 Westgate, I think there were some intelligence reports that were there. Me and my family were actually targets, my late father and myself, by Al-Shabaab. And Al-Shabaab continues to say that they will deal with us as a family and as an individual. That has been there. I've been threatened during this job by individuals who felt that my decision either to charge or not to charge was not favorable. And this is part of the work. And I think when I took this job, I knew that, and to try and stick to the Constitution, then that threat would of course escalate.
Members of Parliament have raised concerns about KEMSA's decision to send home its entire staff for 30 days starting from today. Narok Senator Ledama Olekina during a parliamentary sitting questioned the basis of the drastic changes while also questioning why junior officers are being punished for the mistakes of KEMSA senior managers. Senate's Labour Committee has been directed to probe the matter. Senators insisted that the move was a cover-up.
Madam Speaker, the committee should also explain whether the State Corporation Advisory Committee, whether it made any recommendations to the President in regards to the reorganization, removal or transfer of officers and staff of KEMSA, and if the board acted on its advice.
This is a cover-up of very powerful individuals and their families from being investigated for the fraud in KEMSA.
900 ordinary junior employees within KEMSA are being sacrificed at the altar of protection of powerful individuals within government and within KEMSA fraternity, Madam Speaker.
You have until 5 p.m. today to register as a voter at a polling centre near you. IBC Chairman Nofula Chebukati, after High Court ruling, said that the exercise will end today, and those who haven't registered by the end of today will have to do so at IBC constituency offices. As of Wednesday, when the 1 month-long exercise was set to come to an end but was extended by a court order, the Commission had registered 1.4 million voters out of a target of 6 million. More than 300,000 Kenyans had also registered to be transferred to other polling centres. IBC had gone to court saying it lacked funds to extend the exercise, but the judge said the matter will be concluded on the 25th of this month. The Judicial Service Commission is set to reopen job applications on Monday next week until November 12th. In a press statement, JSC attributed the move to high traffic and congestion in the systems and the need to give every Kenyan an opportunity to apply. It says that members of the public should note that the application portal will reopen on Monday and will close on Friday next week at 5 p.m. Those who submitted their applications before the original deadline should therefore not reapply. That is what the ministry say. According to the Commission, the application came to an end on October 29th, where it stated that more than 60,000 applications had been received. And in international news, Europe is facing a potentially devastating winter that could see 500,000 people die with COVID-19, according to the World Health Organization. WHO warned as it sounded the alarm over a surge in cases and stuttering vaccination rollouts on parts of the continent. Much of Europe is battling spikes in infections, with Germany on yesterday reporting its highest number of daily new cases since the pandemic began. That's the Newswire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
And look at that, just a few minutes after 7 o'clock, and it's already jam-packed in most parts of the city this morning. We're looking at Jogo Road has already piled up. An hour ago, it was not like this at all. Coming out of Westlands already as well. You might want to consider using the Red Hill Link Road if you're stuck in that Mudangari area, getting on to Wayaki Way today. Kiambu Road had already started to show you the signs of drama this morning, and here it is, full-blown head-on drama on Kiambu Road, in and outbound to the city. We're also looking at it building up on the Thika Superhighway already. That which was not there before. Around the drive-in also, there's a bit of a hiccup there. Not quite sure what's causing that. It could just be normal Friday morning traffic. Outer Ring, that whole area going then spilling over to Jogo Road is also building up as well. Mombasa Road is a breeze. Mombasa Road deserves 3 stars. I think we should give them really quickly. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Talk to us there this morning. Let's see what it looks like in your neck of the woods. And also text on 40127.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation
A very good
Room.
morning to you. 7 minutes after 7. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. It's Friday, the 5th day of November 2021. How you doing? Wherever you're tuned in, thank you very much for choosing SpiceFM and the Situation Room as the only way to start your day. CT Muga, today's proverb.
Yes, we are still in the land of the Ma. Enap oliotiko isirat enelo. Enap oliotiko isirat enelo.
Enough. I am not eating any more rats.
Even if you tickle me.
Even if you tickle. Enough with your tickle. This rat.
All right. A zebra takes its stripes wherever it goes.
A zebra takes its stripes wherever it goes.
It doesn't leave its stripes behind.
Enap eliotiko isirat enelo. Bas. So let's go with our stripes wherever we are. Newspaper review is what we want to do now. What's in the headlines? Have you subscribed to the Standard e-paper? You can do that for only 20 shillings every single day, and you get access to premium content on standardmedia.co.ke. You also get access to 10 days of archives in the Standard Library. A lot of content therein. What's in the headlines, Ndu?
Indeed. The military and the NYS are to oversee KEMSA operations. This came out yesterday. We saw those circulars. The Kenya Medical Supplies Authority has told more than 900 employees to work from home. KEMSA Chair Mary Chao Mwadime yesterday said all non-core staff members have been released to work from home as the necessary consultations progress for the next 30 days. The cooperating teams, which were not specified, were appointed and mobilized for mobile operation to avoid undue disruptions to service delivery and day-to-day operations. She also said that the National Youth Service and other government employees will oversee medical supplies across the country. She maintained that the action is a procedural formality to facilitate the review of the organizational structure for the purposes of enhancement reforms to strengthen UHC delivery. But sources at the Ministry of Health say the action was taken because of graft-related issues. During the 30-day period, Mwadime said, attendance and sensitivity and empathy will be maintained and all staff will be engaged and appraised and given necessary counselling and psychological support. Sources hinted that the current employees have been asked to reapply for their jobs as the authority will be manned by NYS and the military, awaiting the hiring of new staff. Those expected to vacate the office include managers and their assistants, messengers, clerks, supervisors and subordinate staff, including tea servers and cleaners. Work from home? The reorganization of staff has been attributed to corruption at KEMSA, including the COVID-19 procurement saga where billions of shillings were allegedly misappropriated. The move to issue sacking letters has been triggered by donors who have been giving KEMSA a wide berth following the COVID-19 scandal. Donors are saying they need reforms at KEMSA, according to the source. However, neither the Ministry of Health nor the Cabinet Secretary have the mandate to sack employees according to the KEMSA Act. So what is being said is you can't sack them, ask them to work from home. Messengers,
the
clerks,
board can take action.
Right, okay.
Basically, it's not the job of the CS or the PS, it's the job of the board. And that's why the chair of the board has told them, you know what, guys, take some paid leave, just work from home for a while, as we reorganize things. When you come back, you'll find your desk has been cleaned up or cleaned out. There are some people
exist.
it doesn't exist. The people who now will be asked to, everybody's being asked to reapply for their job. So it's basically just a cleanup.
Or a cover-up.
At the Kenya Medical Supplies Agency. Or a cover-up?
Yes.
Why do you say cover-up? How do you see cover-up?
This isn't the first time we've had this mass sacking and mass laying off and mass go home and mass don't come back. We've had it before. And most with procurement officers, we've had it before. And we've seen it. And nothing changed. After that drama, the dust settled, we were exactly where we had been before. There was an attempt to move the officers around. Again, not much change. The only change that I see is now in the change of the management. When you're bringing in people who ordinarily are not part and parcel of normal government business, as in they are meant to be in the barracks, they are meant to carry out certain specific functions, and you now bring them in. A growing trend. But then a growing trend with the growing rates of success. We are seeing NMS, we are seeing Kenya Meat. So if you're saying you want to bring the same thinking and the same individuals into procurement, but therein will lie a problem.
We're agreeing a race of success.
Yes.
Where is the success?
Kenya Meat, success.
Where?
NMS,
because we've been told.
Success. Actually, if you have information on the contrary, I'd like to hear it.
No, I don't have any information at all.
I do, because
I just hear people saying here, left, right, and center without actually giving me any figures.
It's not what I hear. We had the Minister of Defense at that particular point in time who was in this very studio and explained to us what they had done over a period of time. Now, yes, she said. So unless I have information on the contrary, I'm inclined to believe her.
Okay, then. So the military are doing a good job.
No.
So then, what's this cover-up then? What that you think would happen at KEMSA?
When you sack people en masse, you are sacking sources of information en masse. They go with that information. So now, if you then want to investigate and you want to call people back in to talk, what makes you think that you are going to get the same sort of information you would have gotten if those people were in the places?
The people have been suspended. I guess how you would look at it is this way. First of all, let everybody get out, come in, and then formulate your questions so that you know the right question to ask the right person. As if you just come in from outside and ask, hapo ndani ya nyumba yenu mko na sahani ngapi? Person will tell you tuko na sahani 7. Okay. Na vikombe? They'll tell you what they want to tell you. Tell them step out, get in. Find that there is a mismatch in the number of plates and saucers and cups and start asking the questions.
Actually, I am of a different school of thought.
From what I see is that you had bought 7 plates, 7 cups, 7 saucers. So how come you only have 4 cups? What happened?
Maybe what I'm about to suggest has already been done, but I don't know. I am of the opinion that the cups and saucers and plates and cooking pots, the question ought to be asked when you're there. And then this process of go home. Then now, formulate it and ask, this is the information you gave us. And this is what we find, and this is what you documented. So someone cannot say that they were never given an opportunity to ask, or they were not given an opportunity to say their piece when they're on the job. People will complain and say, the moment we left, they moved things around. They changed things around.
They removed the cups.
Yes, exactly. In fact, what they did, remember, we had ceramic cups. Now we have stainless steel cups. Okay? We never bought stainless steel cups. We don't even know where they came from. But if the question is asked when they're still there, they're right there. Thereafter, the same question is asked again. Now, Why am I saying this? Huh? Yeah. It is in some of my reading that and conversations that I came across some very interesting perspective from people who are in the security business. Yeah. I have a friend who told me that one of the things that they do as police personnel, so they never ask you different questions, just ask you the same question. Same. It is your answer. The reason is they want to understand your response. Yeah. Same question.
Yeah. Even as we look at it, it's clear. I mean, there's certain things that are not clear, but there's certain things that are, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that two things are happening here. That, number one, there is an attempt at a cleanup at KEMSA, right? Secondly, there is also an attempt at proper management at KEMSA, right? So you have the NYS and the military coming in to kind of manage. We've looked at issues of distribution of medical supplies and medicine around the country because KEMSA has not been able to do 1, 2, 3, and this is coming off the back of mismanagement and corruption, etc., right? So there's a streamlining clearly that's happening here, and saying you all have not been able to do it for the last, odd number of years, whatever. So let's take that out of your hands. At the same time, there's this image sanitation that's going on that needs to, according to the powers that be, needs to happen. Mm-hmm. All these other things that could be happening in the periphery, under the covers, we are not quite sure the reason why now stuff is being removed. But it would appear to me that in order for this streamlining and sanitation to happen, you don't need people running around the ship.
This step had to happen. Yeah. And it had to be sudden and immediate.
No time to think about it. No time to corroborate with somebody else. No time to come up with an alibi or story. Just move.
Because remember, CT, those questions have been asked with the individuals while still in office. They are audit reports. Okay? That have already asked those questions. So this, and the other audit reports have unearthed several questions. What we're talking about, the donor agencies, right, that have been working with KEMSA, from USAID to others, have even come in and helped with an audit, and they come up with a report. So all this information is out there. So now you're just basically going in and checking what's happening, and then now you start asking the questions. This, what I'm seeing here, corresponds with what the audit had said.
Very true. Public participation.
Yeah. Ndu, do you feel that this is going to bear result? That we are finally getting to a streamlined KEMSA that will work for the benefit of the people?
I think there will be an element of streamlining that will come in. Whether it will be 100%, then I'm not really sure, because to be able to get it 100%, then you're going to have to weed out all of the rot that was there before. Can you do that in one full sweep? I don't know.
Okay.
There will be an attempt at it. You'll probably see that for some months, nobody's going to be complaining about that at Machakos level 4. We did not receive 1, 2, 3, or that dispensaries do not have the basic minimum because KEMSA has not been able to do that. I think for some time now, you're going to see that runs very smoothly. There will then be a demand for the reinstitution of these employees to come back. But until and unless that rot, wherever I think that they know exactly where it is, who is doing it. Whether there is an appetite to remove it completely
is a whole different
story.
I don't see anything that's going to change at KEMSA.
I think that you will see the proper distribution in terms of the job, the actual job. I think you will see that for some time.
KEMSA distributes.
I think you'll see that for some time.
KEMSA dispatches. There will be bad apples and rotten apples in KEMSA. But you know what they are? They're just enablers and facilitators of the owners of the corruption. We are not addressing the owners. Who eats from KEMSA?
That's what I'm saying.
If you're not addressing who is the one who runs this puppet,
then they're not going to. That's why. But did you hear what I said?
Get people out. Get people in.
Did you hear what I said?
Yes,
I said that you will have this for some time.
There will be nothing, even for that some time. Let me tell you something, Ndu. The problem today, as we speak today, a hospital in Wajir, a hospital in Marsabit, and a hospital in Mandera can receive supplies from KEMSA. Okay?
And they have received supplies
and they have been receiving supplies from KEMSA. That means that KEMSA is able to procure, is able to store, is able to distribute,
KEMSA works.
Is able to supply. That is not the problem. The problem is now there in between the chain. Who is involved in the procurement? Who is involved in requisitioning? Who is involved in receiving at the other end? Those are the thugs. You can fire everybody at KEMSA, but if you're not dealing with a thief,
the people who you will bring in will end up in exactly the
they'll
same
be
positions
recruited and
as the
become
people who
enablers.
you will remove. In fact, what is even more so, now I'm going to be a fully fledged conspiracy theorist. Some of these people will even ensure that the people who are now employed are people who are user-friendly.
Yes. How do we know that this whole process will not be infiltrated by the thugs?
Right. So let's take out these folks in the pretense that we're trying to clean up this spot.
Yes.
But what we're actually trying to do is put our own individuals in there who are going to play ball.
Yes.
It's tightened bolts. There's some loose nuts here and there.
Individuals who are going to play ball.
Suddenly, USAID noticed something. Hey, no. We need to play this game very nicely and clean. Anyway, as that was happening at KEMSA, at Steamer Plaza, something else was happening. The Kenya Power has suspended 59 senior procurement employees as reforms at the troubled company started in earnest. The electricity distributor says the affected staff, who are all senior members of the supply chain and logistics department, had been asked to step aside pending investigations into possible procurement malpractice that have threatened the sustainability of the company while exposing Kenyans to high power bills. The move is following the recommendations by that task force that had been appointed by the president, and it's now in charge of implementing its own task force report. Something else is happening at Kenya Power. Same story.
Another something.
Procurement guys go home. Now we are going to investigate, and then you'll find out.
You know, the procurement guys are not the problem, as Eric is saying. They are not the problem.
Some of them are.
No, they're not. Let me explain to you why I'm saying this, Ndu. May I explain?
Please, carry on.
In the absence of an enabler, a procurement officer is just a procurement officer. They are ordered, they're told, this is what we need, this is what you need to do, you follow procedure. The route we speak of, somebody has to influence it. There has to be somebody who stands to benefit, and in so doing, they induce you into believing that you can also benefit. In the absence of that, the procurement person is going to be doing what they're supposed to do on a daily basis. Wake up in the morning, come, fill forms, do the other, just
advertise tenders.
Normal, nothing unusual. There are people in this country who are known suppliers, major suppliers of anything that has to do with the Ministry of Health.
Yes.
And I say anything, I mean anything.
Yes.
They are known.
They are known. It's public knowledge.
Yes. Every time we talk about, the list is going to come out, it's just a story.
Yes.
If you want to solve the KEMSA problem, first of all, name these people who are known so that we know it is Mr. So-and-so, Mrs. So-and-so, Mrs. So-and-so.
And blacklist them.
Precisely. You cannot take them to jail because they're business people. All they're doing is doing business. But the way in which they do business and the monopolistic stranglehold that many of them have in these institutions is what brings about these problems that we're talking about.
Yes.
Whereas they can even determine what an item should cost.
And what your needs are.
Yes. Dude, didn't your ears tingle just a little bit when we were talking to one Mr. Umoluga here, and he's talking about the turnkey projects? Mine did. In fact, my nose flared.
Is it?
Yes, it did. And my eyes almost popped out. Turnkey project where you get someone who quotation. It's not brick mortar equipment.
Everything. One stop. Boom.
Actually, boom. So this story of now syringes.
Let's get from this guy. We don't have
bulbs.
Elastoplast.
Yes.
Let's get from this guy.
Okay.
Then we need bulbs for this machine.
And green tiles for the... No. One-stop shop, done.
And it's possible. And guess where that blueprint came from?
The Ministry of Health.
Voila.
So,
these things, we are not serious about it. Just like we were talking about the KEMSA billionaires and all those people who were suspended yesterday, the 600 staff. Those are not billionaires. The billionaires are out there. And the billionaires are running the show. Send all of them home.
And these individuals who are called to speak to the various parliamentary committees, half of those people didn't even understand what they were talking about.
They are no clue.
So those aren't the people who, for heaven's sake. Now, so long as we keep thinking that we need to protect certain people for whatever reasons, please just let these people who are working in KEMSA continue working. There's nothing that they have done wrong. These people in Kenya Power, let them continue doing what they're supposed to do.
Page 5 of The Nation, end of the road. There was a story the other day about a police officer who operates along the, is it Mwingi Garissa or Thika Mwingi Road, and how he decided to forfeit 26 million shillings that he'd been collecting as bribes for many years. Yeah. A police officer who has agreed to forfeit to the state 26 million shillings that he acquired through bribes and for 6 years moved cash into and out of 4 bank accounts and a mobile money wallet. Besides moving the cash around to make it difficult to track, Constable Jamal Bare Mohammed lied to the National Police Service Commission about the actual value of his assets during vetting. But tables turned on him when some of the drivers from whom he extorted money filed a complaint. An analysis of his bank accounts shows Constable Mohammed, who has since cut a deal with the EACC after a 4-year court battle, was depositing 2 million shillings every week before he was arrested.
Only him.
Every week. Today is Friday. The week started on Monday. 2 million.
Do the math. How much does that man collect in a day?
2 million. 2 million divided by 7. It's close to 300 G's.
But you know, that amount doesn't actually bother me. What bothers me is what he is paid to let through.
Yes.
Because for people, it isn't Matatu's paying you 50 bob.
No.
It doesn't. You can count as many Matatus as you like. You will not get to that amount. So, along that route, where does that route lead to, and what was he letting through?
Yes.
People who knew that they required something to be let through, and this person was reliable, and they were willing to pay for it. 1. 2, who was his boss?
He's not operating alone. When he ends up banking 2 million shillings...
How much has come through?
It's not just his.
Oh.
How much else has gone?
It could be his 2 million.
That's his
but
2 million.
How much more has come through? It's definitely more than 2 million.
That is his 2 million.
2 million went
it's
to
his
him.
cut.
Yeah, 2 million was his.
His
how
is
much more came
30%.
through? And definitely not working alone. Somebody up the road, down the road.
It's not one person.
No. And then somebody who may be in a higher rank than him, who's aware that this is going on and also wants a piece of the action.
By the way, this thing of talking to people is a good thing. There are certain jobs, even within our police service, you pay to retain because they're considered lucrative.
Yep. In 2015, there was vetting by the Police Service Commission. Remember?
I remember the drama.
Kavuludi was going round with his team, and they started from the senior all the way to the junior. They stopped somewhere. This man was vetted. The issue of his accounts and what was contained in his account did not come up during this vetting.
So what has brought it up now?
ESCC.
Yes.
Because somebody ratted.
Remember EACC was saying that if you come and tell
one
us
of the
in
bribers,
secret,
alleged bribers.
Yeah, come and tell us in secret what's happening, we'll follow through.
Which means this is somebody got tired.
Yes. Yes.
You know
there was a new system that was introduced.
Yes. And they didn't like it.
And the new system was now asking for more money or something. They
Usually
didn't like
that's
it.
the problem.
Usually that you've been bringing is not
enough.
Yes.
Like, surely, Bwana.
Times have changed.
I've been giving you 20, now I'm giving you 50. No.
I can't sustain this.
Not only that,
utatoka hapa nitaambia EACC.
Not only that, you will find that along that route, let's say there were 4 barriers or stops or toll stations or whatever you want to call them. Suddenly there are 10.
Yes.
And each toll station requires the same amount. And then you ask, wait, what business am I doing?
How much is it that I'm making that I'm giving you guys 100,000?
I mean, am I doing a business that I can pay you guys, or am I doing a business that I can survive? At some point, somebody gets fed up and said, you know something?
So listen to what was happening in 2015. Questions abound as to why the NPSC failed to raise the issue of the millions of shillings in Constable Mohammed's bank accounts during his vetting. The officer's wealth declaration form submitted to the vetting panel indicated that he earned 729,000 as salary and 219,000 in allowances for 2 years before his arrest. Additionally, he said he earned 4.3 million shillings from his livestock business in Garissa, 120,000 shillings from renting out a 3-bedroomed house. Interestingly, by the time of his vetting, Mohammed had not touched his salary, which was being credited into his bank account in Embu for 3 months between October and December 2014. In February and August of the same year, he's said to have withdrawn only 8,000 shillings and 10,000 shillings.
Between February and?
In February, he withdrew 8,000. In August, he withdrew 10,000 from his
February
salary.
And, okay.
twice. According to the defendant's declaration of income, assets and liabilities for that year 2015, he declared an income of only 5.4 million, which he said was his gross income from farming and rental income. Also hidden from the vetting panel was a piece of land known as Thika Municipality Block 24/485 that the officer had bought for 3.2 million shillings, which he later told the EACC he had bought for only 1.5 million. Now, after EACC sniffed and went deeper and deeper and deeper, he said, okay, sasa si tuongee basi. Tuongee. Okay, sasa tuongee. This 26 million, I can give you guys back. So,
then we leave each other alone.
Yes, just take this 26 million. History tumaliza. Watu ni kuongea. Watu ni kuongea bwana.
But that system of deal making is a good system. When it involves money that was stolen,
and that's coming back.
Yes, it is a good system because you do get some money back. The alternative is for that thing to sit in court
forever and
ever.
Yes, and
insufficient evidence.
And at some point, it'll grow cold. It'll likely die. It may be in court, but nobody's following up. Nothing is happening.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, this was a win somewhat by the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. Somewhat. It's 28 minutes to 8. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. Let's take a quick break. How are the roads looking like? And also, let's take a look at the weather forecast for the country and around the world for today.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
Hey, it's getting hot in here. The media has greatly contributed to the moral rot that we experience in this country.
I remember a senior politician telling me, point blank, nobody steals in the field, it's stolen in the granary. So my friend, if you're going to win an election, jipange kwa granary.
I think we are suffering from Stockholm Syndrome. Our violator and abuser is also our redeemer in our mind.
The whole political class, the whole political institution is rotten. It is based on ideals that cannot progress our country forward.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. The weather with
looking at cloudy
SpiceFM.
conditions in Nairobi at 19, go to highs of 23 and lows of 16 today. It's mostly cloudy in Nakuru at 20, highs of 26 and lows of 14. 14 will also be the low in Nyeri, where it's mostly cloudy at 19, highs of 23. And in Eldoret, we'll see highs of 24 and lows of 13, mostly cloudy conditions for most parts of today. Cloudy conditions and light rain in parts of Mombasa at 27, highs of 32 and lows of 24. Malindi is mostly sunny at 27, highs of 31 and lows of 26. In Kisumu, it's mostly cloudy at 20, highs of 26 and lows of 18. And Kakamega is cloudy as well at 19, highs of 27 and lows of 15. Kampala is raining this morning at 19, highs of 24 and lows of 16, while in Dar es Salaam it's sunny, we'll see highs of 31 and lows of 24. Now clear conditions in Lagos at 24, highs of 32 and lows of 24, and it's sunny in Johannesburg at 17, highs of 27 and lows of 15. Kinshasa's clear at 23, that'll be today's low, going to highs of 33.
Spice up your life.
Mombasa Road this morning is not looking too bad. Just a little bit of traffic on that outbound area around the Maradaima. Inbound, however, to the city, it's a breeze. How about taking a ride on Mombasa Road today, just seeing what it looks like? Well, actually don't, because then everybody will go to Mombasa Road and then we don't want that situation. All right, so we're looking at Uhuru Highway and it's already getting packed as you're getting into the city. Around that whole South Sea area, the turnoff at Bellevue, that's an issue. Wow. Langata Road, hello. There's a lot of traffic there this morning. Inbound, and it goes all the way through to the roundabout at T-Mall, spilling over then to Bagavi Way as you're trying to get to Ngong Road. Ngong Road also piling up a little bit here and there. The Thika Superhighway, there is traffic, but it's just seeping past Survey. Kiambu Road looking a little bit better, but traffic still in and outbound to and from the city. On the eastern side of the city, Kariobangi, Outering, that area, coming then towards the Eastern Bypass, have a bit of an issue there. Otherwise, traffic this Friday is not too terrible. Let's keep an eye on things, however. Does it get sticky in your neck of the woods? Do let us know on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text on 40127.
Chilled Spice. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
24 minutes to 8. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. Guys, let's give a shout out to John's assistant. Now, John has a new assistant. Val. Right? Yeah, she's doing a good job.
We see Val.
Smile, Val. Come on. City, what are you looking at?
You know, I'm looking at many issues, but this one caught my attention, the Business Daily. U.S. issues warning over China plans for military bases in Kenya.
U.S. is warning who?
See, China. The U.S. has raised alarm over the alleged plans, by China to establish a military base in Kenya and extend its grip beyond economic investment ties. It claimed that the planned base in Kenya is part of China's pursuit of a global military logistics network to counter the existing interests of superpower nations, including the U.S.
Okay, so when they were doing their own...
Continue.
Okay, sorry. I'll ask my question.
Let's hear where the concern is.
Okay.
Shida iko wapi? Endelea.
Right. China opened its first military base in Djibouti in 2017. With the latter location on the northwestern edge of the Indian Ocean fueling concerns in India that it would become another of Beijing's string of pearls. Military alliances and assets including Bangladesh, Myanmar, and Sri Lanka ringing India.
Okay.
So who
the U.S. is concerned that China is now trying to become a world superpower.
No. China is trying to become them.
No.
In doing what they're doing. Because I read this thing and I said, yeah, I
Be
get
careful, Kenya, because China is trying to be like us.
Yes. They want to extend.
I think, City, please continue reading that story.
Thank you very much, Eric. Yes.
There's some parts here that are still not...
Right. Can I continue?
Please.
Right, okay. It is China's first overseas naval base, though Beijing officially describes it as, I turn the pages and get to page 4, a logistics facility. Okay? 2 more paragraphs. Chinese Navy Marines are deployed at the Djibouti base, along with armored vehicles and artillery support. The People's Republic of China has likely considered a number of countries, including Kenya, as locations for PLA, the People's Liberation Army. Man, they're all liberation armies, aren't they?
Of course.
Okay. Said the Pentagon, U.S. Department of Defense, in its annual report to the U.S. Congress, seen by the Business Daily. A global PLA military logistics network and PLA military facility could both, this is what you're waiting for,
yes,
could both interfere with military operations and support offensive operations against the U.S. as the PRC's global military objectives evolve.
Okay, so they're not warning us. It's basically Department of Defense internal communication. This is happening, and there's an impact on us as America.
Yes, no.
So they have not told Kenya, you don't...
No.
Oh, no.
Don't. It's not like don't let them.
No, and it's not they're going to tell you don't. But if the U.S. already has a base in Kenya, all right, and this is to Congress. Remember, Congress, these are the people who decide you're getting money, you're not getting money, you're going to do this, you're not going to do the other. It's a report to them. What do you think the message is?
It's vocalizing the threat.
And what does vocal? And when you vocalize, what in essence are you saying? That these people are a threat to our interests.
Yes.
And if they're a threat to your interests, do you think that the conversation with the country that they think is their newest interest, do you think that conversation is far removed from the table? It isn't. And by the time it's getting to our ears, this is a report that it wasn't published yesterday and appeared in the papers today. No. It's been there for a while. Now, you tell me, do you really think that overtures to ensure that the supposed and assumed threat is not dealt with? You know, the West were asleep in the Kibaki era, when China decided that they were going to be friendly to the African nations, invited African presidents, in full glare and in broad daylight, started the economic offensive, started chatting, started cuddling up, and they did something that the West had not been doing. They were assisting without these unnecessary, cumbersome conditionalities.
Yep.
No moral clauses attached to aid. You want money? Okay. Can
Take
you pay?
it.
Yeah, can you pay? Okay, how much did you want? Okay, no. We can even give a bit more. You can give us a bit more. Yes, we can. Yes. Do you have a port? Yes, we do. Do you have an airport? Yes, we do.
Okay, let's just tack it on then.
Why don't we just consider that as a friendly basis? Friendly basis. Okay? Now, somewhere along the line, I suspect that the people who wrote this report understand that they're playing catch up.
You know, the Chief of Information and Public Affairs section for the Embassy of China in Kenya told the Business Daily the information mentioned is totally false. The Pentagon's latest report is just the same as previous fact-neglecting and bias-briming.
Yes. Now, that, my
Hizo ni
friend...
zao.
No, that is now a confirmation. That is confirmation.
Okay, so here's the thing. The U.S. has for a long time operated and has very many bases around the world.
They do.
The U.S. and their partners under NATO have operations around the world.
They do.
So now China is doing the same. Russia has not done this. China is doing the same. Of course, from the US's perspective, it's an issue of concern for them.
Yes, it is.
That this could happen, because then it also diminishes their leverage.
It does.
And very many other things, economic and political power around the world. For the rest of us, we are fine.
Yes, no.
This levels the playing field.
This is America's problem. this thing, it's actually America's issue that's being vocalized.
Yes.
It's America's threat. It's America's fear. It's America's uncomfortability that you're hearing about. So bringing Kenya, whomever else into the conversation is just
There was a report
inconsequential.
in, I don't remember, one of those big US publications just the other day of a study a poll that had been conducted across African countries. This perception that because China is giving quote-unquote free money to African countries, is it undermining democracy? Okay? Because you're giving money without putting all those conditionalities of you shall do this and the other, is that undermining democracy? And what was the perception? Over 50% of those who were interviewed across Africa said those two things
How are they related?
not related.
How are they related?
You know, in terms of democracy and our understanding of democracy and us participating in choosing our governments, we are very much focused on that. In terms of development and getting development support and access to financing from China or from whoever, that's a different story altogether. So does China's foray into Africa undermine democracy? No.
The Chinese have done something that the West somehow, as again, and I say slept on the job. If you look at the foray and their interest, commercial. Now, you may argue that it is an avenue of exerting influence. Yes, you may. But who doesn't do that? It's just that has been the major focus. They are not involved in these foreign issues of trying to interfere with your politics or They may do that, but they'd rather have you in a stranglehold economically. That's how they go about it. Now, the West has done the opposite. The moment they feel you're not behaving, that is a guarantee that what will they do? They will halt all these developmental projects. Now, unfortunately for them, China doesn't think like that at all.
It's a different approach.
Yes, you have a situation where you say, yes, you want human rights and matters around it upheld, and I applaud it. It is true. China, that is, the country's issue. Let them deal with it. We are talking about economic development. The two issues are quite separate.
Yes.
The West, the issues are not separate. Right. So, where do you think a continent that has countries that actually need that help, where do you think they're going to go to? Somebody who's asking them to go to school, to morality school, and determine how clean they should wash their faces.
Or the person that's going to give them the thing that they need today.
Yes.
Move on. Now, County 001, Ndu?
Yes.
Yes? 001.
Mombasa. I don't know.
County 047.
Nairobi.
County 048.
Yet to be determined.
Huh.
And it's bringing what? Moto.
Some issues. The push for a 48th county. I never knew there was a push for a 48th county until I saw this in the papers today.
So is it us who are pushing for the 48th country? Or is
it's
it?
actually a tussle.
It's been there. It's spilling over into campaigns for next year's elections, revived demands for new electoral zones, and rekindled the controversy during the adoption of devolution. At that point, in the adoption of devolution, there was an issue of should they be ahead of next month's debate in the Senate on the proposal to amend the Constitution, grievances arising from the stalled BBI and a clamour to create additional 70 constituencies and boundary delimitation that the Electoral Commissioner said will only be completed after the elections are resurfacing. The Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2021 seeks to split the expansive Kitui County into two to bring services closer to the people. If passed, it will also be considered by the National Assembly, and should it navigate the treacherous political waters in Parliament on time, the proponent plans to ride on the general election, having the question as a seventh ballot to avoid a costly referendum. Apart from proposing the creation of a new Mwingi County, the bill seeks to create the membership of the National Assembly and Senate. The National Assembly will have an additional woman rep to be elected in Mwingi County, while the Senate will have 3 more members. They are elected one, and 2 others that the bill proposes are elected to represent special interest groups. So, do you know who's sponsoring this bill?
No.
Is the Senator of Kitui County, Enoch Wambua. Enoch Wambua says, as currently constituted, the larger Mwingi region has 3 constituencies: Mwingi Central, Mwingi North, and Mwingi West. The proposed new Mwingi County shall also include Kitui East constituency. The 4 constituencies have a cumulative population of 558,000 people, according to the 2019 census report. This population is spread in 21 wards. So he is basically saying, Kitui is just too big. Kitui is too big. I am the senator. I have traversed that entire county campaigning and serving the people. Too big. Let's split it. There's a sufficient population to support creation of a new county. Of course, you know what that is. When you want to change anything to do with the structure of devolution, referendum. So Senator Enoch Wambua's idea is to convince his fellow senators, they pass it. It goes to the National Assembly, he convinces them, they pass it. Then it becomes another question, another poll, a ballot in the next year's election. So
and the benefits of this will be what exactly?
Serving the people.
Serving the people better.
Kitui.
You're not going to deal with one huge geographical land area. You'll be able to split it, makes it better. You
But
not have
the
that issue of
conditions
some and some
are
do
understandable.
not
The
have.
conditions for creating constituencies, a smaller unit than the county, is based on numbers, is it not? Among other things.
Yes.
Is he then arguing that Kitui has the numbers?
Yes.
And is his assertion correct?
That's what he's arguing. He says 448,000.
All right.
558,000.
All right. Now 553. And what is
558.
okay? 5. Why don't we just make it 600?
Okay.
Okay. Round it off. Okay. What is the geographical area, size, square kilometers of the place? Number one. If he's going to argue, what do you think Marsabit is going to do? They're going to say divide it into 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, then the counter argument will be on the population.
On the population.
My point. Then we'll come to Nairobi. We look at the population. How many times should we divide Nairobi up then? I'm simply saying this. I understand what he is saying and the idea of bringing. It isn't creating a new county. It is creating more constituencies and bringing about perhaps more smaller devolved units. That will serve the purpose more, not creating another county. Not really.
So your solution, your proposed solution would be that way.
If you think that there are many people.
Let the IEBC go and look at this.
Yes.
Look at the constituency, look at the number.
Yes.
Increase, because it only has 3 constituencies.
Yes. Give them 3 more.
So give them an extra constituency or 2.
Even 2.
That creates extra wards.
You've devolved it further. So the very thing that you're saying ought to be achieved will be achieved, but not creating a county. You bring in that argument of creating a new county, my
You know
friend.
what creating a county comes with?
Tell me.
The formula by
Commission on Revenue Allocation.
Yes.
Yes.
Because then it means that if you look at everything else, You're looking at the geographic landmass, you're looking at the population, you're looking at all this amount of money that you're receiving.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter whether you create 17 new constituencies, the money that goes to Kitui for devolution will still be the same.
It is.
And Enoch Wambua's argument is, let's split it so then the people can even receive more in terms of budgetary allocation. When they receive more for budgetary allocation, then you're bringing those services closer to the people.
But the argument that he is bringing forth was countered a long time ago by the argument of simply increasing more allocation in terms of money to the counties. You're talking about more money, then give more money to that. Just give more money, not split the county into two.
Give more money how?
If the allocation for the counties is now X shillings, let it be X times 2. So you have more money. But increase the constituencies. What I'm saying is this. Creating a constitution, a county, I understand the thinking behind it. But remember, the argument that was put forth in the BBI was the logic that would defeat this argument, in that it was kila mtu shilingi moja. Okay? Focusing not on so much on the geographical area, but focusing on the population. Yes. So now, Kiambu, look at their numbers. They're 4 times that number. No, not 4, they're more.
They're double.
They're double that number.
They're only double.
Kiambu are 1 million.
Kiambu are 1 million voters.
Yes, but population.
The population is higher.
Precisely. And what's the population of Kitui? 600.
600, we've given you 600.
So that's what I'm saying. If you follow that argument, this is not a can of worms or a Pandora's box. You are going to let out all the demons that you didn't even know existed.
Everybody's going to come out and then
And
give rationale
Enoch
as to
is prepared.
why.
Let's open this can. Let's discuss this issue.
And if somebody comes out with a rational argument as to why they should be increased as well, then let it come out.
Let everybody come out and say what they want, what they feel is best for the people.
But that's precisely what I'm doing.
Yeah. You're saying exactly what you feel is the best for the people.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Because I'm looking, bottom line, you want more money.
Yes.
So why split the county? Just give them more money. And have more devolved units, have more constituencies, have more MCAs. That's it. And with the more money, you'll have devolved that function that you want devolved to even more smaller units, which will reach even more people.
Okay. You know, one thing that I think that Enoch Wambuah and his colleagues at the Senate should have done for the last 8 years is speak and raise the issue of the equalization fund.
Yes.
Because the Constitution creates an equalization fund, which has, it's called a sunset clause.
It does.
The equalization fund is coming to an end.
It is.
It has never been operationalized.
No, it hasn't. And the purpose was precisely this. Meaning, where there are things which the county allocation doesn't quite take care of, you then go to that fund to ensure that you provide a buffer and you're able to sort out these matters, isn't it? Hasn't been operationalized.
We'll look for Enoch.
Indeed.
We'll invite him here and come and tell us.
The UK tells Haji and Kihara on the Wanjiru murder that the ball is in your court. The Attorney General and the Chief Prosecutor now hold the key to justice for Agnes Wanjiru, who was murdered 9 years ago by British soldiers, allegedly, after the United Kingdom expressed willingness to extradite the suspects to Kenya. If Director of Public Prosecutions, Noordin Haji, chooses to prosecute the case, the UK may hand over the soldiers implicated in the murder in Nanyuki on March 31st, 2012. Yesterday, Mr. Haji and AG Paul Kihara did not respond to an inquiry on whether Kenya would begin extradition proceedings against the British soldiers implicated in the murder. On Wednesday, UK Minister for Armed Forces James Heappey pledged that his government would cooperate in the case, saying Kenya holds the legal jurisdiction. These are legal matters that will need to be considered in time, but the Secretary of State for Defence, Mr. Ben Wallace, has been clear that if investigations lead to charges against a British service person, he will make sure Kenyan investigations and legal procedures are supported. Heappey's in Kenya on a damage control mission following an explosive expose on the alleged cover-up of the murder. His comments shift the focus to Attorney General Paul Kihara Kariuki and DPP Haji, who must now decide whether the implicated soldiers should be charged with murder in a Kenyan court. So he's basically come and said, look, we're here, we're going to provide the necessary support mechanisms. However, it is you to say whether this is going to be carried out in this manner. Until and unless that happens, I am ready. Just letting you know. The ball is in your court, folks.
It's you to
need
do
to get
it.
it done. And if you decide to do it, we are not arguing. We know that it needs to happen.
It's you
but
to
we will
bring
not
it.
be the ones to come and say, okay, right now, let these investigations and charges commence. No, not us.
People are playing us, man. We are being played left.
We
right,
are
and
being
center.
managed. You know, the person who wrote that article, I like the bit where they say that it is a damage control visit. Yes.
It is. He did say this, yes.
Yeah, because the thing about the country, Her Majesty's country, is that the public are very tuned into such things.
Fast, though.
Yes.
Yes.
They have their own members of parliament who are raising a stink over the issues.
Yep.
Okay. They are asking the difficult questions, saying, excuse me. No. Why? And if you want to understand how powerful public opinion is, look at this saga. It's in the papers. Members of parliament are raising the issue. The government says, we need to put a lid on this thing.
Fast.
Yes. It may run ahead of us.
Now, the issue of management in schools and what they do when a student falls sick, the escalation of conversations is another one that's rearing its ugly head again. There's a case here. Parents of a student at St. Teresa of Avila Secondary School in Dalat, Nandi County, are calling for investigations into her death. The 16-year-old died on October 24th, reportedly while at school. She was living with her grandparents at their Sergoit River farm in Itigo near the University of Eldoret in Uasin Gishu County. Her parents, David Kipiego and Ruth Jeruto, who spoke from their home at Mgwen Kapkoi near Burnt Forest, claimed they were not informed of Jerop's illness. However, her uncle, Thomas Torr, said he was called at around 11 a.m. on the Sunday that the girl is said to have died, and he was told that she was sick. I sought to know when the sickness started, but the caller asked me to hurry up as she had fainted. On my way to the school, I called her parents and asked them to meet me at the hospital, but I received another call from the school and was asked to go to Moi Teaching and Referral mortuary. He said teachers told them that Jerop had been sick from Saturday and died on Sunday. After speaking with the teachers who had come to condole with us, I went to the mortuary. Jerop's body was still in her nightdress. She had been booked in as having come from Dalat, but the name of her school was nowhere in her details. Nothing more was said about her. Her parents say the school should have informed them of Jerop's illness before she died. Ms. Jeruto accused the school management of negligence and is asking the Ministry of Education to ensure thorough investigations. We went only to find our daughter's body in the mortuary. We had received the devastating news of her death from our other daughter. This is not the first time that we hear such stories. At what point does a school communicate with a parent about a sick child?
Do schools have policies, especially if they're boarding schools? Do they have a laid-down procedure for actually communicating to parents all these things? Now, I know that very many private institutions have detailed processes, detailed of what happens if a child falls sick, what they do. It's laid out. Who is called, how they go about it, it's understood. I am certain that somewhere the government has policies about such matters. But is it something that parents are aware of? Is it something that the teachers are aware of?
Yeah. At what point do you escalate the matter to the parents? Because not all illnesses are to be reported.
No.
But at what point do you escalate it? If she indeed fell ill on Saturday, she was still in her nightdress. The uncle says he was called at 11 on Sunday. What had happened throughout the time?
All that time before 11 on Saturday, what happened?
What was going on?
What was the protocol? What happens? Who calls? Who receives a call? Is it the uncle? Is it the father? Is it the grandparents?
There's a guardian, because when you're saying there's a guardian, there's somebody that you should call or speak to.
Somebody who perhaps lives nearer that institution and who was indicated by the parents as the person
the one to call.
Yes. Should there be an emergency?
This will continue being a big issue. Let's hear the news. Good morning. It's 8 a.m.
Spice up your life The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning, this is the Newswire. I'm Leah Ubaga. Kilifi Governor Amason Kingi has termed the drought being experienced in parts of Kilifi County as a result of climate change. Residents, however, say that the rampant charcoal burning in the area has greatly contributed to the adverse effects of the climate. Kingi was speaking in Ganze sub-county where he distributed 600 bags of maize and beans to hundreds of residents. Kingi further called on stakeholders and well-wishers to support the county by distributing food. DPP Noordin Haji says from where he sits in his office, he ensures that the law is applied equally when it comes to prosecution of cases. Haji, while speaking to SpiceFM Situation Room, clarified that the bulk of their cases were those of common wananchi and not prominent persons. He said both cases were handled fairly, and why most cases that involved big names took time was because of their complexity.
Some of these big cases are complex in nature. Sometimes they delay because of the kind of compilation and the documents that are required. But if you go down to Makadara or Kibera, you will see that we are very strict, even with cases that are brought affecting the common wananchi. So, for example, as ODPP, we said very clearly that these old colonial cases like touting, people are being charged for touting. They used to go and round up youth. If you don't pay 50 bob or 10 unaletwa for us to be charged without a file, nothing. So we decided that some of those cases, we are not going to deal with them anymore. In essence, we've even suspended.
More than 30 students have this week been arraigned in court over arson cases, among them 24 boys and 6 girls, following the rise in arson cases in secondary schools across the country. This event comes as 6 students from St. John's Girls School Serende were arraigned in Kitale and charged with intent to commit a felony. The 6 denied the charges and the case will be mentioned on Tuesday next week. Here's Magistrate Mary Achieng.
The subjects will be escorted to Kitale District Hospital for age assessment and a report be availed to court. In the meantime, you will be remanded at Kitale Police Station in a cell separate from adults.
Education CS George Magoha has urged parents to use the midterm break to talk to their children and counsel them where need be. Magoha also said that all students who will be found to be culpable of the cases of arson that have been happening in schools will be charged in accordance to the law.
All those schools that have been banned, their parents shall build the full stop. The government will not pay a penny. I continue to slightly castigate our parents who still continue to treat the children as eggs. This has been part of the problem. There's an improvement, but the child must be allowed to be ready to survive on his or her own in an environment like this. If we catch you, and as you have seen, first of all, that information is going to be on your record for the rest of your life. And the law does not allow you, even if you are 10 years, to buy petrol and burn public property. If you want to go and burn your father's building.
A family in Band Forest is crying for justice after their daughter died at a school under unclear circumstances. The family says the management of St. Mary's School, Teresa of Avila, where she was studying, said their daughter had been ill for a week and then died while receiving treatment. However, some of her relatives said, according to students, the school failed to take the child to hospital, despite her being in critical condition, and the nurse also ignored her call. The school head teacher, Margaret Liaram, however, says the girl was treated from the school by the nurse until Sunday when she collapsed and died and was taken to hospital. Kabiet OCPD Jamlek Nguria says investigations into the cause of death are underway. KEMSA employees will from today work from home for the next 30 days. The workers have, however, said that they don't understand how it will be possible for them to work from home without some important documentation. Anthony Shege is a procurement officer at KEMSA who says that some documents that he'll require to work from home cannot be allowed to leave the offices.
I'll be working from home as per the directive from the board. Although I don't know the kind of work which I'll be working from home, because the work which we normally do here as the procurement, it involves documents, and those documents are here. And the documents are public documents, and nobody is allowed to go with them out of this organization. So whatever we'll be working from home, maybe these are just a start. We're hearing that we're going to receive letters, and the letters are being issued.
According to KEMSA boss Mary Mademe, during the period when the workers will be at home, their responsibilities will be fulfilled by officers of the National Youth Service.
We want the operations to be seamless. So it has meant that we reach out to certain organizations to assist us in just making sure that we move ahead during this review period. How many organizations? I think some of them are the ones that have been mentioned. You have mentioned NYS. How many? I don't have the numbers for now.
That's the Newswire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
.5 SpiceFM, Kisumu.
Traffic still continues to build on Jogoo Road this morning, getting out into the city, Landis Road, and then feeding off to Haile Selassie Avenue. Issues this morning, quite packed. We're seeing Uhuru Highway also an issue here. Bagazi Way, feeding off of Langata Road, and Gong Road also getting towards Community out, then to Haile Selassie in the CBD. All roads lead to the CBD this morning. Uhuru Highway really taking a big hit today, and it looks like it will continue for some time. Thought it was getting better on the Thika Superhighway. Well, sorry, it's not. Still heavy traffic inbound, and also coming out of Westlands. That whole area, folks trying to use Ring Road Westlands to get out. If you're up on Wayaki Way, use that opportunity to get onto the Red Hill Link Road. It's going to help quite some today. Limuru Road also continues to be quite packed. Let's keep an eye on things. We're still in the middle of traffic hour. It'll end soon, but for now, use the bypasses. All right? SpiceFM KE on Twitter. That's how you can talk to us there. Text as well on 40127.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room.
8 after 8. Good morning. How are you doing? Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation, the third hour of our conversation this morning. We've been here since 6 a.m. We are here until the end of the show, which is 10 in the morning. City, today's proverb.
Enap oliotiko isirat enelo.
Enap oliotiko isirat enelo.
Sirat.
Sirat enelo.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
A zebra takes its stripe wherever it goes.
Right. A zebra takes its stripes wherever it goes. Okay. You are who you are.
Actually, indeed you are.
No matter the circumstance, no matter the environment.
Yes, you know, this is interesting. It's not who you say you are, but who you actually are. Yes, because often what we deal with is what people say they are, or what they'd like others to believe they are. And yet what they actually are...
It's what they are.
Yes, indeed.
What they actually are is what they are.
Yes, indeed.
And they are who they are, not who they say they are, necessarily. They are, they are.
They are, they are.
Yeah.
To be or not to be?
That's the question.
Is it not?
Nakuru is mourning from the county government to the people who work in the county government. And this is for a man who was dealing with dead bodies. It's common to hear people mourning the death of a popular politician, a musician, a teacher, a journalist, or even a doctor. But popular mortician? Not quite. Being a mortician is not a popular job in our society, not because the work that the undertaker does is not important, but because people generally fear dead bodies. And by extension, those who handle dead bodies. So few people would really and readily associate themselves with morticians or make public associations. But Nakuru is in mourning, and they are mourning a popular mortician. And the county government and residents are not afraid of expressing their sorrow over the passing of one Titus Kithia, popularly known as Tito. Tito, who died at the age of 45, learned the job from his father, Jackson Keyo, who was also a popular mortician in Nakuru. His father was so popular that the county morgue was named after him. Tito was described as a dedicated mortician whose professionalism and mien helped many families, not just in Nakuru, to bear with the pain of losing loved ones. Tito is a popular name among Nakuru town residents, some of whom have interacted with him during their lowest moments when he worked at the Nakuru County Mortuary, known as Kwajak. The news of Tito's death was announced by the governor, Lee Kinyanjui, who described him as a dedicated professional who understood his job perfectly well. The governor said Tito worked in our county morgue, Kwajak, and took pride in his work. He knew how best to handle those grieving. He worked with great commitment to help grieving families cope with their circumstances. He lived his life to the fullest, and he was a social person. Not often when you come across something like that, right?
No.
Governor himself issues a statement says, we have lost Tito, who is a mortician who's been working in our mortuary.
Now, what does that tell you of his dedication and the quality of service he has provided over the years? By the time you are recognized to that degree, it goes beyond any possible doubt that whatever you are doing was exemplary.
Yes, and it's family business.
Yes.
His own father was doing the same. Tito was raised at the quarters, the mortuary staff quarters. So he grew up in this neighborhood. He started working in the same place that his father was working, and he has died doing what his father did and taught him to do.
You know, when you mentioned the fear that we have of dead bodies, I started thinking, why are we actually afraid of dead bodies? Because they remind you of spirits. Yes. Somebody dies, there's a belief amongst many of us that the spirit still lives. And the problem is, when you talk spirit, you inject immediate and direct fear. Because with the term spirits, now in Kiswahili comes the term mashetani. Okay?
Bas.
And people are not at ease with that conversation.
Mashetani.
It's for the same reason that people fear cemeteries. Because there is this underlying understanding that that is the headquarters of all those spirits. They're out there. Yeah, they're just hovering around the graves.
But that's it. That's their home.
Is it?
Yeah. So if it's not at the graveyard, it's in the forest in some trees.
The spirit now.
Those hallowed grounds, yes.
Okay.
That's where people go to pray in specific areas because they're communicating with the spirits. From their home.
Okay. Did you see that hand movement? Ndu?
Yeah, it had to come twice.
That is speaking.
Yes.
Because most times that hand movement is only in one direction, but now Eric added a staccato to it.
It's beyond. It's beyond the visible realms. Let's revisit the story that we had talked about earlier in the papers. Announcement yesterday by the KEMSA board chairperson, Mary Mwadime, that they have got into office and they are starting to restructure the organization. And one of the things that they need to do in the restructuring the organization is to understand the workings of the organization. And for them to best do that is to request that the staff that have been working there take a pause, they investigate, and then the staff will reapply for work. And those that are found suitable will get their jobs back. Those that have questions may not necessarily get their jobs back. Their jobs may be declared redundant, and the whole effort, the whole procedure will then kick in. So 600 staff sent home in this restructuring. And as they do that, then the board is asked, so when all the staff go home, are we saying that we're shutting down KEMSA? They say, no, we're not. What we're doing is we are bringing in other people from other agencies to come and run operations at KEMSA. For continuity purposes, what we are doing is we are bringing in. I had somebody was saying NYS. Yeah, some NYS. Somebody else said military. Yeah, military. She did not say military NYS. She said, "It is you who have said." Remember the Lord Jesus? "It is you who have said, not I." That is what Mary Bodime said. So the letter, they're given 1 month's notice, and it says, "This letter serves as 1 month's notice that your position may be affected and may be made redundant." The letter is titled General Notice of Potential Redundancies. The changes will involve, among other things, re-examination of the roles played by every employee and redesignate them so as to achieve the objective of the restructuring and align the roles to the approved staff numbers. So they've been given 1 month notice. There's a possible restructuring and your position being declared redundant.
It's an exercise in futility.
And we bring in new people to do this job. Huku hayo ya kijiri, over at Stima Plaza, the same kind of thing was happening. 56 members, senior managers in the procurement department have also been told, guys, step aside. We are conducting an investigation. This is a presidential directive. The president formed a task force. The task force said, we need to look at the procurement at Kenya Power. The president said, implement this task force report, and even formed a team to implement it. And the Kenya Power bosses have said, now, sio sisi, ni mkubwa. Just go home for a while. We will look at this. Again, investigating and sending staff home. Remember, there's a time when the president was so concerned about the level of corruption in government and said, you know what, we need to establish how are we procuring services and goods for government. Can all procurement officers just go home for a while? We conduct an audit of the job that they've been doing, and then they'll come back. It happened. They went home. They came back. Do we know what happened thereafter? Now, are these moves meant to actualize change, or are these moves hoped to actualize change and then it's sabotaged somewhere? Or are these moves designed to hoodwink that there's change that's coming?
Is that a question that...
yes.
How many marks do I get for the correct answer?
25.
Hoodwinked.
Hoodwinked. You go with C.
I thought that was D. I had a conversation once with a very senior banking official. And at the time when he said it, it just sounded like a statement he was making. When I thought about it, I realized he had told me something very profound. He said, when people look at what we call corruption in government, you blame government officials. He said, you are pointing a finger in the wrong direction. He said, it's those of us who are in business who are responsible for these things. It is those of us who are in business who actually are in the business of actually generating and making money. The government isn't. So when you're talking about a deal, whether it is procuring this or procuring the other or whatever it is, if it involves business, he said it is us. And it is us who make this thing possible. It doesn't matter whether it's Kenya Power, it is Kenya Navy, it's NEMA. It doesn't matter where it is. Moving around the personnel is a complete exercise in futility. They are not the ones who are responsible for these messes. It is not them. Are you telling me that when we look at the contracts that we've been speaking about with regards to that entire Kenya Power, the energy sector, the contracts with power producers, these senior managers who are now being told to go home, are they the originators of these things? Are they the ones who came up with these ideas? They are employed to implement. That's what they do. They are not employed to come up with these new, fresh ideas. They can, but it's a system, it's a structure. This is what you do. Do they decide what should be procured, or is a need
being met?
Precisely. Why are they being sacrificial lambs in a situation? I'm not saying that they're not capable and that they haven't participated. That's not the issue. Their participation is not what causes the problems that we're speaking of.
Well, if you ask the question why are they being used as sacrificial lambs, even if they played a part in this whole thing, that they're not amongst the chief perpetrators here, and that there is a clear and heavy reluctance to call out those who actually are, because of the fact that those who would call them out are in cahoots with these individuals. you're in a position to say that, okay, let's get this issue sorted out. No, don't want to. Let's focus the spotlight on these individuals here, and then hopefully Kenyans will forget and this whole thing will fade away. That's what the attention is right now. And in the meantime, let's make it seem as though we're doing something, right? We're cleaning up operations. We're inviting and injecting NYS and the military to streamline operations and make sure things are running properly. Take your attention off of it for some time while you still continue doing the same nonsense that has been the bane of the negative existence of this institution forever, right? So you just continue. Has anything changed? Will anything change? That's why I say you might see some streamlining and there will be some saluting and yes, sir, attention. But after that, it's not going to be anything beyond what has been happening previously. Will there still be corruption? Yes. Will there still be that we don't have answers in terms of who did what during COVID times? Yes. We will still not have the answers. We will still not know who it was. And I think that this is actually a direct operation to make sure that that information does not come out.
There's a gentleman by the name of Spencer Sankale. He was an employee of the Masai Mara University. Now, the reason why his name is known is because he decided to turn whistleblower and he exposed the Vice Chancellor and 4 others over the issue of corruption. And what was the outcome of his whistleblowing?
It was shown a hand.
Yes. And has this saga not suddenly turned around? Suddenly he's incompetent. Suddenly he's this. Suddenly he's the other. Suddenly he's this and the other. The problem is at the top. It is those people who are at the very top, not managers, CEO, board. This is where the deals that bring about those contracts, that bring about God knows what, that bring about MES, that bring about all these matters that we keep discussing with regards to impunity and corruption, they are the ones who discuss it. These lowly employees are told, this is the path you need to follow. Now you go through the process. They simply go through the process. They do not start this whole chain of events. Do you really imagine for a single second that somebody who is an officer in charge of whatever department is suddenly going to decide what that institution needs? They decide. It's like telling me that the manager in charge of voter registration at IEBC is the one who's going to determine the kit we're going to use in the election. How?
So where is the rot?
At the very top. The rot is...
The top has already been removed.
No.
So once you've removed the entire board, remember that's what the president did?
No.
The president dissolved the entire board of KEMSA.
Allow me to say what I was going to say and complete it. You are right in what you say. When I say the top are culpable because they are the ones who are the enablers. The culprits are business people. And the people who work with them, they may be pulling the people within the system at the manager level and so forth who work with them because you need them. They're the ones who make these things move. But it is not possible for the issues we keep seeing coming over and over and over again if some heavy hand somewhere didn't have a say in it. It is not possible, my friend. The business entities that are involved in the procurement process are the real problem, not the other fellows here. They're beneficiaries, but they're not the real problem.
Okay, so City, let's just put it the other way around, okay? So say you are appointed to the board of KEMSA with all the things that have happened at KEMSA, all the institutional challenges that KEMSA has faced, all right? You go in as the board of KEMSA. What would you do when you talk about let's reform this institution?
I would not take the job. Just to start off with, I will not take the job.
So hypothetically.
So let's say that you really love this country.
I do love the country. That's why I wouldn't take the job.
Let's say that you really love this country.
And I also love my life. I would not take the job.
And you want to see changes. All these things that you've been saying in this studio, you told, okay, sir, City.
My friend, there is no way as a board member I would change.
Yes.
No, it won't happen. The reason why it won't happen is you are moving, the people you are removing are expendable pieces within this whole jigsaw puzzle. I raised the question earlier on and I said, why don't you ask yourself who the main players, who are the people who actually deal with procuring and supplying these institutions? Start there. Then you will know who these people are. It doesn't matter whether the president removes the whole board and brings new ones. They will be influenced again. This isn't even musical chairs. It isn't even a merry-go-round. It's just a status quo. It's as it is. Remove them, bring others. The people who are doing those things haven't changed. The same thing will happen all over again.
So whoever you take to KEMSA will be gullible.
Yes, they will be made gullible or they'll be removed. If they actually put a stand, that's why I gave the example of Sankale. If they actually put their foot down, they're gone. They'll be sacked. They'll be incompetent. Their auntie has done something. Something will happen and they'll be gone. They will not be working there again.
So you also say, therefore, that even those that have taken up the job as the board members of KEMSA, they will be influenced.
Yeah, they will be.
Or they'll be removed.
They will be influenced. If somebody actually takes a stand,
if somebody goes in there and let's say the entire team that's now at the helm of KEMSA, the entire board, they have gone in there and they have sat and they've even taken oath amongst themselves and said, you know what, kama ni kufa to kufe, but we are going to make sure that we leave this place better than we found it. Okay? And they said one of the things that we want to do first of all is deal with the rot that we can deal with here internally. Find out what are these issues that have been happening within KEMSA. How is it that maybe people would say that they've delivered and yet someone has signed delivery and there's been no delivery? That's an individual here. Why is it that somebody would come up with terms of reference that have been discussed elsewhere and still take those terms of reference and publish them as this is the contract we are looking for? This is the tender that we are advertising. There's a rot within. So we've come in here and we are the new board members of KEMSA and we have said enough is enough. What we can do, we shall do. Go home first, let's clean it up. Then the first thing, once we have clean people here, now we go for the thugs. So that if the thugs are trying, as we are trying to go after them, they are not able to infiltrate this system anymore. The system is, first of all, working properly as we deal with the thugs. Is that not a possibility? Ndu, don't you see that? I mean, this
really
is possible.
I can see that, but leadership is critical.
Yes.
Leadership is critical to say that also you have people who operate within the requirements of their job, void of fraud and corruption and all these other complications, you will find that in as much as your personal convictions and your moral standing require you to do a certain thing, you will find that if a position has been taken by leadership that this is the way we are going to go, you will find that there will be much less of this untoward behavior.
Yes.
So I do feel that it will be absolutely necessary to have leadership which requires that this is the way in which we're going to go. There's no nonsense when it comes to this kind of behavior, right? At the same time, I can also see how all this time, all this rot has been taking place. This nonsense, even before COVID, there has been the corruption here and there, and it has been the worker bees who've kind of been, making sure that this status of corruption continues, right? So I can see the rationale. Move it. Let's clear this thing up. And let's make sure that anybody who has questions to answer can then come and answer them once we have streamlined everything and we've cleaned it up.
Yeah.
Leadership is critical then in moving forward to remove that whole status quo of this is the accepted position. We know this is how you do.
And that's why I'm shifting position. I've just sat and thought and said, why don't I just give this board the benefit of the doubt?
You go ahead and
say,
give the benefit of doubt, Eric.
Look, have I seen this work elsewhere? Yes. You gave us the example the other day of General Gordon Kihalangwa.
Yes.
When he was appointed by the president as PS and taken to immigration, what did he do? When he was made the person in charge, what have we seen happen, for example, at the registry of births and deaths? What did we see happen when Matiang'i and Professor Magoha decided, you know what?
Enough is
enough with exam cheating.
Michuki on the roads. Enough is enough.
Yes.
Stop it.
And you start from inside. We did not see Matiang'i and Magoha. Magoha then was the chairman of NEC. We did not see them saying, okay, let's first of all establish who are these who've been selling the exams, who've been distributing. They said, we are closing the loophole. here inside.
Eric, allow me to just chime in. The business people in NEC were NEC. They are the ones who actually bring, it is them. They're the ones. Examination papers, it's them. Those who sell it are just conduits. So it's very, you see, KEMSA doesn't produce anything that it supplies. It just supplies. Kenya Power, as it stands now, just does what? It distributes electricity. They're the people who produce electricity. Okay? Now, you want to blame the ills of that industry on KPLC. And you're going to say, your job of distribution is a bit faulty. So go home because you're distributing faultily.
Oh, yeah, huh?
Or anyhowly. And yet the issue here is we have power that is being produced. Somehow it's a bit expensive. Somehow we seem to keep, because of contractual commitments, using the power producers whose process of power production is expensive. These discussions keep coming up over and over and over and over again. To the point where almost any Kenyan who's listening to it can become an expert in these things. Eric, what I'm saying is, I can't state it as though I have a definitive answer to the things I am raising. I am simply saying this. Specifically with an institution like KEMSA, whose job we know is to distribute. They may tender, they may do these things. They don't manufacture.
Yes.
The moment you enter the realm and the kingdom of tendering, then come in the people who are, in my view, the key players, those who are the suppliers, and they are not 10, 20, 30. They are a handful and they control that particular business. The rot that we see, face masks expired, gloves expired, KEMSA didn't produce. All they did was tender issued, supply given.
Yes, and yet there was a problem.
There was a huge problem.
Bas. So the entire thing that is KEMSA, right?
Yes.
Is a procurement and distribution organization.
It is.
And so that's where so if we have issues on procurement side, on receipting, on warehousing, on then distribution, the entire logistics chain, remove everybody first, because the problem is everywhere. It's not only at the point of procurement, of deciding and advertising tenders.
Eric, it's
on the point of even distributing them.
I'm not saying they shouldn't be removed. I'm simply saying I do not want to remove the focus from the major, in my mind, the major influence, the people who make all these things we're saying possible. Because if you didn't have the business people who want to do business with KEMSA and who are, should we say, powerful and influential, these discussions that we're having right now wouldn't be there. You know, KEMSA, over the years, has done a sterling job of just doing what they're supposed to do. To be honest. They're supposed to supply. They supply. You even know the dates on which the supplies would arrive. You even know them by batch numbers. I mean, all those details were supplied. You're not going to tell me that people who are capable of doing, and this is throughout the whole country, doing it for all this time, suddenly what has happened?
What has happened is what you're saying. People with commercial interests infiltrated the system.
Yes.
So the first thing that you want to do is remove their agents.
The enablers,
remove their agents from the system.
The ones who allow them
Shut
to
them
have
out.
this done over time, remove them, and let's see how this thing will continue.
Okay. You've seen the point. 26 minutes to 9. Kenya's biggest conversation. Let's take a break. Take a look at the traffic.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
You know, when you see someone being jailed, a governor or two or someone who stole, then people will fear. Because our problem is not the borrowing, it's the stealing.
We've become actually a nation of thieves. The only thing we lack is an opportunity to steal.
The guys who quote the Bible and say, I'm a Christian and all that, and you know they're thieves. Return what you have stolen 4 times. If you know that you have property or anything that you have stolen, just return and say, My God does not allow me to hold stolen things.
We are also a reflection of you, because you elect us. You know, we don't get into our office by ourselves. We are a reflection of the people who elect us.
We don't want to go to the streets. We have a constitution that enables us, assert our will.
When the legislators are now being taken as hostage by the executive for whatever reason, we are now bound by what they want us to do.
This is just outside the realms of reality. We have impunity written into the DNA of our political class.
How old were you when you learned that Jeshi Lokop is Jeshi la Wokovu?
I can't say it very well. No, I'm to Jeshi Lokop.
And everyone knows. Okay.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Welcome to Spice FM, the best exclusive radio station bringing you the best
in
mix.
Parts of Nairobi at 20, highs of 23 and lows of 16. Mostly cloudy conditions at 21 in Nakuru, highs of 26 and lows of 14. 23 will be the high in Nyeri, where it's mostly cloudy at 20. It'll come down to lows of 14. And in Eldoret, mostly cloudy at 20, highs of 24 and lows of 13. Mombasa, rain continues in some parts at 29, highs of 32 and lows of 24. And we're looking at sunny conditions at 28 in Malindi, highs of 31 and lows of 26. In Kisumu, it's mostly cloudy at 23, highs of 26 and lows of 18, while we're looking at cloudy conditions at 22 in Kakamega, highs of 27 and lows of 15. Kampala's partly sunny at 20, highs of 25 and lows of 16, and we're looking at light rain in Dar es Salaam at 28 with highs of 31. It'll come down to lows of 24. Johannesburg is sunny at 19, highs of 27 and lows of 15, and Lagos is partly cloudy at 24, highs of 32 and lows of 24. It's sunny now in Kinshasa at 24. We'll see lows of 23 and highs of 33.
Spice and everything nice. Spice FM.
Spice up your life.
Still continues quite tight in the city centre this morning. All roads leading into the city coming off Jogo Road, as well as on the other side of things, Bagadi, Bagadi through to the connection at Ngong Road, then out towards Community and then to Haile Selassie. Quite hot and heavy this morning. Also looking at still on the Thika Superhighway, but not so bad, just past the Utali Drift, and then you should be all right. But you get to the Pangani underpass and it slows down some. Still slow action coming off of Limuru Road, coming out of Westlands also. There's still that whole mishmash this morning. All jam and no butter, as we say. Landis Road also, that issue coming in from Jogo Road. So we're still in traffic hour. Let's see what it looks like in about an hour or so. SpiceFMKE on Twitter. Talk to us there, guys. Let's chat on text 40127.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. Everything nice. Spice FM.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
It's
94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
On the Situation Room. Okay. So, City, you've seen the point?
I have seen the point, but that's not really why I had a smirk on my face. I got the impression that you thought that I had caught religion and that at last I'd seen
the light.
Yes, I saw the light. But forgive me. This board is not going to do anything that other boards have not tried to do and have failed. It's not complicated. No. You're talking about them being influenced. Of course, they'll be influenced. You're talking about them being culpable. They all start with good intentions and make lovely speeches and send people home and do the other and the investigations and etc., 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 etc. Nothing will change.
Oh, ye of little faith.
Oh, no, this isn't little faith.
Why are you being such a negative Nancy?
This is not little faith. This is zero faith. You need to be correct here. It's not, I'm not applying
and
even
it's only based on history.
And what else should I base it on?
Look at character of individuals or something like that. I mean,
Eric, I wait to be proved wrong. I will then apologize and say I was
the same examples that you've given You've seen it work elsewhere in public service.
Yes, I have.
Yes.
And I'm saying it because I saw it work.
Yes. So now here you are. An opportunity now has presented itself.
Look.
Where you've seen that things have been going in a certain manner for the longest time. And then they say, okay, you know what, guys, here we are. We have a position, or we have an opportunity to clean things up. Now, this is what we want to do. We want to clean it up. In as much as you're saying, I wait and I stand to be corrected and say that, this is not going to happen, there's also the possibility that it could happen. There's a possibility that this mandate will be taken seriously and we'll say, okay, you know what? It's been going badly for the last 5 or 10 years, whatever. We want to clean it up. You know how you take a tube and they dunk it in the water and see where the holes are and then be able to patch them up? This is essentially what they're doing now. Patch it up and then we see how we can move forward and get the vehicle running properly.
Sorry. This vehicle is defective to the point where even if they're starting
So what do we do?
Miraculous.
So diagnostics are taking place
Do we
now.
bury this? Do we take this thing to the
and toss it out
scrapyard?
the window? Mash it up and start from the beginning?
Smuggle the scrap out of Kenya through the Namanga border?
No. More details need to be given for me to think that something can work. For instance, when you say you want to bring in new players, I want to know who these new players are.
NYS and the military.
That is it a reality or is it something that is just floating in the air somewhere?
No, they've told you now. They're going to bring them in.
Have they actually told us that they're coming? Have they told us? Categorically? No, they haven't categorically told us. They've insinuated.
That they're bringing in NYS and the military.
When I see the NYS and the military, when I see them, then I'll say, aha, I see change.
The board chair said there will be continuity of operations.
Of course, she said.
There will be other people who will come and do the job.
Of course, she said.
That 600 people have been doing.
Of course.
She was asked, NYS, she said yes. She was asked, military, KDF, she said yes.
Eric.
So now you want to see what? You want?
Yes, I want to see pictures of
when
them.
you see the actual human bodies.
You want a field trip by the chair of KEMSA to take you and show you. Huyu unamwona hapa hajavaa uniform leo.
Eric, this
lakini
chairman,
huyu ni warrant officer 1.
I'm not being disrespectful. There is nothing in the track record of this lovely lady that indicates that she has done anything.
That she has been corrupted before.
No, zero. There's none whatsoever.
None that shows that she's been corrupted
not even
before.
That. There's nothing that even touches on her character, on her personality. That's not my debate.
So you have nothing to argue about her possibility of being corrupted.
My argument is not her. My argument is the system and the institution. As I said,
she's coming to reform.
I've heard what she has said. I'm waiting to see. Until I see, faithless, until I actually see bodies. We were talking about refurbishing the Nanyuki-Nairobi line. When I saw NYS and military work, I said, aha, it is being done. I saw.
So now this is the same
will
NYS.
believe when I see.
This is the same NYS and military that you're being told are going to come in and still carry out operations.
My issue is
whereby they've sent people, the same people. It's not NYS 1 or 2 or military 3 or 4. Or it's not like Team B of NYS. It's the same NYS and military, CT.
My issue is being told. I'm waiting to see. Yes, I've heard.
You said that you have nothing to go on,
so
but historical perspective. You've just given a brilliant example of how NYS and the military have come in to do work somewhere else. Historical perspective is being presented to you once again.
But it's because I believe it because I've seen it.
Now, same people.
I haven't seen. I've only just heard.
At the end, you saw them at the tail end. That's when you started seeing, okay, and you saw, there's now a
But now you're privy to the experience at the beginning.
I'm just explaining something to you that this is my position.
That you don't trust the process.
I believe the new chairman, the chairman means well. I believe the chairman believes what they're saying and they intend for good to come about.
Okay.
And I am saying my position is I'm waiting to see the good.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
Kenya Power, task force chaired by John Gumi.
Yes.
They did the report.
Yes.
They've been told by the president, go and implement your own report. Go.
Yes.
First thing we see is Kenya Power management, after a meeting by the Interior Cabinet Secretary who's coordinating this, where they said this report must be implemented and we are going to see work being done. First activity, remove the people. Is that not seeing? Do you believe that there will be work that will be done at Kenya Power?
I believe because the chairman of this task force happens to have a track record that I know of when he was chairman of Kenya Pipeline, and I saw what he did there. It's in the public domain. So if you tell me that this same person is now in charge of a system that's about to bring change, I am likely to believe because I have seen. Folks, I am not doubting this lady. I am simply
You
saying...
just don't know her. That's it.
Not that I don't know her.
You're unaware of her track record.
Yes, I'm unaware of the track record, and I'm simply saying, let's play a wait and see game. Now, until I see, I don't believe. It's not complicated.
So you're not rubbishing.
No.
So it's
No.
It's possible for something to actually be done.
Yes, it is possible, but I must see it.
City just said okay to this thing a long time ago. He's just finding a way of saying, yeah, but you see now, but
Thomas is here.
This isn't a but. This is an and.
It's an and.
Yes.
How long, though? They have not told us how long we expect to see proper changes. Now, when you talk about bringing in the military, I have an issue.
Mm-hmm.
I have faith, and I'm giving, no, not faith. I'm giving the benefit of the doubt to the new board and what they are trying to achieve. I am also hoping that the bringing in of NYS and military officers is only temporary. Not that they are coming to do anything. It's only temporary. Because beyond that, there's nothing that I can say that is above reproach on the work of the military in civilian works. It has not reached a point where I can be 100% convinced, despite sitting here with the Director of Medical Services for Nairobi County and him explaining to us what they've done with the building of new health facilities and saying they were turnkey. I have insisted until the day I see a report from the Auditor General that says these turnkey projects are above board. I'm sitting back and saying,
Why were you taking me through the calls and yet you're
Thomas
benefit
and his
of
twin brother.
Benefit of doubt?
No. You see, like, for instance...
To the management.
Exactly. Even when you look
benefit of doubt to Dr. Omo Oluga. However...
No benefit of doubt to the military.
The military has come in. Oh, we were told the military has now moved into Kenya Meat Commission and therefore. Animals are dying left, right and center in this country. Are we seeing them at KMC?
The military in charge of the Ministry of Livestock, Eric?
See, they're in charge of offtake.
Yes, they're in charge of offtake, but they have a capacity, isn't it?
Now, if they came in with all these brilliant ideas, I should be seeing those brilliant ideas at work.
But the brilliant idea was at KMC, not the Ministry of Livestock.
Brilliant ideas at work.
But my friend, they are already working. In fact, if you're talking about the military and what they do, Eric, look at what... Okay. Your beef, pun intended, with KMC, I understand, okay? Now, again, my issue here is not in the institution. I know the institution and I know what it is, but it's with leadership. The individual who was the immediate head of the ministry that deals with defense, the CS, I personally have followed her track record. I like her track record. The current CS... Yes, the current CS.
Okay.
So, if you're talking about military, there are many moving parts even as we have this discussion, Eric. But unfortunately, we are talking about KEMSA that has been riddled with all manner of things and KPLC.
Issues left, right and center.
Yes. To the point where I get the impression that people who muddy these waters, just so that you're never really clear about what it is that is actually being discussed here. So, send people home. Remember, we said it earlier on. I see the merit in it, but we cannot have a complete discussion until we talk about the key players in this. And I'm, again,
the beneficial owner.
Yes. Because you will bring in new people. So long as these people are Kenyan.
Wow.
And they have serious financial might.
Yes. So long as they are Kenyan. And the people who are also being employed after the others have been moved are Kenyan. Just give it a bit of time. There'll be window dressing of things moving well. Then we are going to go back to factory settings with the new improved ways of theft. Guarantee. I'm not casting aspersions. I am simply going by what I have seen over the years, and this is what happens. The new group will even introduce theft on a scale that you hadn't even anticipated.
I like the fact that the board has decided to put a plug on the access by these people. But I agree with you on the point of we also need to see, at the same time, movement towards the people who've been corrupting this. When you say Afi House is Mafia House, it is not the people who are there.
No.
Professor James Ole Kiapi was a PS for health a long time ago, and he's been here and he's told us, you know what? That place, madness. There are people who will come and somebody will come and introduce you to them and tell you, you know, this person has roots that go all the way to the foundations of Avia House. Deep. And Kiapi says he was removed.
Yes.
He says he was removed from that because of the way he was operating.
Yes.
By who? The deep-rooted people.
He went to the Ministry of Education.
Yep.
Did he not have similar problems?
Same.
Why? Because the man was actually doing what he's supposed to do. So when I say that I need to see, it is not that I doubt the sincerity or the intentions of the people involved. No. I know better than to just have blind faith on such issues. You will come there with the best of intentions and then you'll come across. These are well-oiled. These people run well-oiled machinery. It doesn't matter who you are. They'll find an Achilles heel. They'll find something with which they can partner with you and do business with you.
They'll sort out your needs.
What needs to be, if we're looking towards solutions, because it's KEMSA today, it's KPLC tomorrow, it's another organization, it's a ministry here, it's another ministry there.
Just think of any parastatal.
Anywhere, throw a stone and it will land on it, right? So then, looking towards what actually needs to happen. Where we have seen that things have actually changed, the leadership actually was taking a position of moving in the right direction.
Precisely.
Where we've seen change, it has been leadership. It's not somebody in the whole worker bee colony. It's not that individual who's going to bring about that change. It's somebody at the top who is saying, you know what, folks, absolutely no nonsense time is what we are in right now. I'm not taking it. Heads will roll. That kind of thing. If that doesn't happen, then I can see this perpetuation of a situation like this over and over and over again. If nobody has an appetite for doing things in the right manner and is not ready to lead from the front or from the top, this will be it.
You know,
Look at the places where you've seen change, and we're talking about lasting change.
Yes.
Somebody decided we're going to take this bull by the horns and deal with it.
And they did deal with it.
Other than that,
you know, Eric, you've heard me tell this story of how when I wanted to renew my passport and I thought of the pressure. Getting it, my friend, was a living nightmare in the times. Someone told me, no, actually, you know, this was Nakabaki era. All you need to do is go to this place, Kisumu. I said, really? Don't I need to know anybody? He said, no, you don't need to know anybody. He said, I went there, I didn't know anybody. This is a colleague of mine. And I did precisely what they told me. And they told me, talk to the boss. I went and spoke to the boss. I gave them my papers and said, I have been invited to attend this conference, etc., etc. I said, okay, fine. Do you have the photographs? Yes. Do you have this? Fill this form? Yes. Let me have a look at it. Here it is. I said, okay, now go to that particular counter over there and you will pay X shillings. Do you have it in cash? I have it in cash. Okay. M-Pesa hadn't become a thing then. Paid the cash. He said, come back at 3. Your passport will be ready. I knew he was joking. I knew. Come back at 3. I'm here at 9.
The same day.
For passport.
For passport, which, if it takes a month, it's come
and
quickly.
And we are not in Nairobi.
Yes. Do you know, I went back at 3 and I asked your name. Said, okay, go to that window over there. You're so and so. They opened it. Okay. Passport. I almost fainted. Now, when you have experienced such a thing, there is no way you can't shout it from the rooftops because you know the experience of what it was before that change, and you know it's not even a night and day. It's a pitch dark night and bright, shiny sunlight. So, given the darkness that is within KPLC and KEMSA, surely, I am not being unreasonable. I'm not casting aspersions. I'm simply saying, I want to wait and see.
It's a wait and see.
Yes.
Flossin Mawano says, if you are privy to how work permits and passports are issued at immigration, what? So the way you're talking about General Gordon Kihalangwa, you wouldn't be talking about him as a success example.
You know.
One person's experience.
Yes, that is the truth. My experience is clearly different. His experience is clearly different. But I can only go by something and rely on like mine. I can tell you because I saw it, I experienced it. And consequent times, when I went to renew my passport, it was the same seamless problem. Go there, do this, do the other, sit here, take a picture, do the other, done. Come back, done, ready, finished, done.
Is there a point of concern, though, when these things are happening and you see quickly we are jumping to the barracks to get people to come and work?
I don't have...
What does it say about the public service?
Is
Because
the
you could
public
have
service
gone,
working?
you could have gone to the Ministry of Health and gotten people from other areas and said, come.
To do what exactly?
Hold fort here for a while.
At KEMSA.
Yes.
The go downs might actually even disappear at the end of that particular exercise.
It's like introducing a fox into the hen house.
No, a fox with the cousins called wolves. No way.
So then, if there's clear lack of trust in the public service,
Eric, it is
by the leader of public service.
No, I think
what are we
just,
saying?
It's just showing that the public service in a lot of areas just is actually not up to scratch.
It isn't a lack of trust. In my mind, it's an absence. Because, you see, it's unfair, but it's an absence. I'm saying it's unfair because there is so much that actually the public service actually does and does well. It's not talked about, it's not mentioned, and they do it every single day to the point where...
just mentioned passports.
Yes, to the point where you think it's just ordinary and normal. And then we then focus on the things that go wrong and we say, this public service.
But isn't it by nature that the things that go wrong or that bad news spreads a lot quicker than good news does? Because rot spreads a lot faster. You hear about it more. It's in your face more. Rarely do you hear the good things that are happening and then, spread that. It's the bad things that happen that are entrenched and that become what you see when you look. When you look, the bad stuff that you will see first.
The transformative nature of some of the work that we speak of, if we had a plethora of examples, we were awash with cases where these things keep improving. When you mention a topic such as the one we're discussing, you would say yes. Unfortunately, we've had changes, people have been removed. Again, it's the history that is influencing my thinking. I would like to have hope. I would like to believe it would happen. But experience has taught me it is far more important to be cautious.
When this uniformed and disciplined service are the ones that are being brought in, it's a serious indictment on the public service.
It is.
And we seem not to be addressing that particular indictment.
But isn't that what it is? It's that you've continuously
We're not
failed.
dealing with it.
That you've continuously failed, and rather than us dealing with you, we will remove you completely.
And bring in other people who have probably been failing. It's just that they have not been dealing with the public.
Very true. But Eric, do you remember how it is? China, Chinese business, Chinese construction suddenly came into this country. It was in the Kibaki era.
Yeah.
We were fed up and tired of briefcase civil engineering. I mean, roads which didn't move. 5 years down the line, a section of road has not even moved. I mean, 10 years down the line, it's like they've painted the road black. It rains once, and you're wondering, where did that road go to? This particular road along which we work, you recall when we started building it, for the first time, you actually saw people expanding a road and not shutting it down. I saw for the first time people working day and night, literally. Not this mishmash.
Let's remember, though, that when the Chinese were coming, they were coming with the entire job has been done in terms of where the finances are going to come from, how they will come and finance the job. What we were dealing with, what we are calling briefcase, is where the government is the one that is looking for the money and putting the money at the project. We are seeing what's happening on Gong Road. It's because there's no money that is coming from China Exim Bank that's coming to this project. It's coming from government budget. What's happening in that expansion of Kitengela to Machakos Junction? Contractor is not on site. Why? Same issues. So it's not necessarily that the contractor is bad.
Oh no. They're not getting. The contractors aren't getting away with this one. The contractors we had in this country. Forget it.
Eric, What do you mean? It's not that
Forget
the
it.
contractor is bad. Somebody
Forget
will
it.
open shop and you say you find machine there has been abandoned for how long, and then they've disappeared. You don't even know where they are. They do a little bit, then they take off. Contractor come and level this road, levels it, and then in 3 days the thing is waterlogged. If rain that just sprinkled for 2 minutes, what are we talking about?
Money. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room. How are you doing wherever you are? Let's hear from you in the next hour, 0719-012-600. So, the road formerly known as Mbagathi Way, because now that road is called Raila Odinga Way. We'll discuss that in the next hour. Good morning.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning, this is the Newswire. I'm Leah Ubaga. DPP Noordin Haji says the calls for him to leave office are malicious because of decisions he has made not to investigate cases, a role that isn't his to play. He, however, says there are clear reasons in the Constitution that would call for him to leave office, and none of those raised at the Public Service Commission warrant for the move.
For this, I think it's very particular. It's malicious and it's very targeted because of certain decisions that we've made, whether to charge or not to charge. The Constitution is very clear that I can be removed from office through petitions to the Public Service Commission for particular reasons that have been outlined in the Constitution. One, either I'm incompetent, I'm insane, I'm bankrupt, or I've been involved in gross misconduct. But to take me to task to the PSC because of a decision that I've made is not part of the requirement for removal. Those are issues that can be canvassed and challenged in court.
Haji, while being interviewed on SpiceFM Situation Room, also said he ensures his safety and sanity in the job by the belief that he's serving right for the future of this country. He says that despite the attacks he gets from individuals who want to run the office their way, he must follow the Constitution.
If some of these things are allowed to be done the way they've been done before, we just sit down comfortable, I could very well do that. But I don't think it will serve my interests, Kenyans' interests, and the interest of the future of this country. So because of that, my conscience is very clear. I'm comfortable, I'm happy, and I'm actually, some people don't seem to understand that the more they bring the challenge, the happier I am to face it head on.
Haji father says that he has been threatened severally together with his family, but that doesn't stop him from making the right decisions.
If you look at the reports that were released during the 2013 Westgate, I think there were some intelligence reports that were there. Me and my family were actually targets, my late father and myself, by Al-Shabaab. And Al-Shabaab continues to say that they will deal with us as a family and as an individual. That has been there. I've been threatened during this job by individuals who felt that my decision either to charge or not to charge was not favorable. And this is part of the work. And I think when I took this job, I knew that, and to try and stick to the Constitution, then that threat would of course escalate.
More than 300 families in Kajiado have so far received relief food from the national government in a bid to cushion them from the ongoing drought affecting parts of the county. According to reports, parts of Kajiado North County have received little to no rainfall in the past 2 years, leaving locals grappling with the harsh reality of drought. The relief food disbursement follows an early announcement by government spokesperson Cyrus Oguna last month, which revealed that plans were already in place to help 23 counties currently facing drought in the country overcome the disaster. Mbagathi Road has now been renamed to Raila Odinga Way after MCAs passed a motion to do so. The road was renamed after the ODM party leader last night. In the signpost, there were two sides, one written Langata Road showing directions to the estate and the other Raila Odinga Way indicating the Mbagathi Way. This is the fourth road to be renamed this year in Nairobi County. Minority Whip Peter Imwatok introduced the motion saying deserving leaders should be recognized while they're alive, not when they die. President Uhuru Kenyatta will today preside over the Kenya Defence Forces pass-out parade at the Moi Barracks in Eldoret, Uasin Gishu County. The head of state had been away in Glasgow, where he led talks of Africa's role in tackling the climate crisis at the United Nations Climate Change Conference. Uhuru jetted back last night ahead of the planned pass-out, where thousands of recruits are expected to graduate after months of rigorous training. A middle-aged man was arraigned in a Siaya court for allegedly defiling and impregnating his two stepdaughters, aged 17 and 14 years. The two girls have reportedly each sired children, a 6-month-old and a 1-year-old, as a result of repeated abuse from their stepfather. The accused, James Odhiambo, was also charged with physically assaulting his two sons, aged 10 years, after they claimed to have witnessed one of the instances when the suspect defiled the girls. The case will be heard on November 17th. And finally, Europe is facing a potentially devastating winter that could see 500,000 people die from COVID-19. The World Health Organization has warned as it sounded the alarm over a surge in cases and bemoaned stuttering vaccination rollouts on parts of the continent. Much of Europe is battling spikes in infections, with Germany recently reporting its highest number of daily new cases since the pandemic began. WHO Regional Director Hans Kluge said the pace of transmission across the region was at its peak. That's the Newswire. I'm Leah Ubage.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, Huru Highway giving some people headaches this morning. Doesn't look really pretty, folks. We're looking at trying to turn off from South Sea because you're running away from the drama that is Huru Highway, and then getting towards Haile Selassie Avenue today is not very fun. I am sorry. However, if you are feeling like a ride, you might want to use the Southern Bypass, get off Mombasa Road, go the long way into the city centre. It'll take you shorter than sitting in Uhuru Highway traffic this morning. That's just a piece of advice, you know. The Southern Bypass is looking pretty good. Use that as an option, folks. It's looking a lot better on Langata Road today. Here and there, of course. Coming into the CBDs where we're going to see most of the traffic today. And Thika Road, not too bad either. Coming out of Parklands, Limuru Road, that whole area is still jam-packed. Today. It's that Friday where things are just kind of ebbing and flowing, and we'll have traffic through and through most of the day, it would look like. But plan your journeys ahead of time and you should be all right. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Get in touch through the day. Text 40127.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room.
7 minutes after 9. Good morning. How are you doing? Welcome to Friday. If you're just waking up, it's the 5th day of November 2021. Kenya's biggest conversation enters the final hour for the week, and Sita Muga has the day's Maasai proverb.
In a hop.
Yes. You know, Oliotiko isirat enelo.
You didn't start with Olotiko last time.
I said enao oloi.
Oh, right. Enaho.
No, boss.
City.
ENAO.
Enao.
Oh, did I write it wrongly?
Yes.
Is it enap?
See?
You've been
Before
saying
you said
enap
enap.
all along.
You know, I'm having problems reading my own handwriting. Anyway. Enap, Oliotiko, isirat, enelo.
A tiger?
Actually, it's the other animals that tigers want to eat if they can get hold of them. This one is zebra. Zebra takes its stripes wherever it goes. But I guess the tiger also takes its stripes wherever it goes. So, but, yeah, tiger, zebra.
Same difference.
Yes,
They're all
potato,
animals.
turtle.
Are they not animals?
With stripes, no less.
Yeah.
Surely. On the 14th of October this year, 2021, a story appeared in the Standard. It says, ODM leader Raila Odinga will soon be immortalized after the Nairobi County Assembly approved a motion to rename Mbagathiwe after him. Makongeni MCA Peter Imotok, who sponsored the motion, argued that Raila has greatly improved Kenya's democratic and economic development and hence should be honored. He said deserving leaders should be recognized while they are alive, not when they die. He fought for greater democratic space, good governance, rule of law, and development of infrastructure against many odds, including detention without trial for 10 years. Addressing the press after the House session, Imotok promised to initiate talks with the executive to ensure the road was renamed. That has borne fruit because, as of this morning, Mbagathiwe is a road formerly known as Mbagathiwe. It's now called Raila Odinga Way. The city county of Nairobi has gone and erected new signs. This is Langata Road. This is Raila Odinga. This is Ngong Road. This is Raila Odinga.
The hand action is working for you today.
No, it's working very
Signs.
well for this guy.
It is sign. So now, Mbagathiwe has been renamed Raila Odinga.
It's not Mbagathiwe Raila Odinga.
It's not the Mbagathi Raila Odinga way.
Or it is not Raila Odinga's Mbagathiwe.
Nope. There was also a nominated MCA, Mary Rivisa, who had proposed that other public institutions along this road be renamed as well. For example, there is Mbagathi Primary School.
Should be named.
She was proposing, let's call it Raila Odinga Primary School.
Okay.
And she says, now the challenge is when we try to do that, we were told, you see, that school is named after the road. But now that we have approved the change of the road, let's also rename. So Mbagathi Hospital.
Thank you. I was about to go there. Yes. As you said, I will say, okay. While we are at it.
Now, listen. We have seen the city county of Nairobi renaming roads recently. In the previous administration, Forest Road was renamed to Wangari Maathai Road. The road formerly known as, what was it called?
Which one?
Accra Road.
Was it Luthiba Accra?
Accra Road is now called Kenneth Matiba.
Yes.
Eastleigh's First Avenue is now called Yusuf Haji. Kapiti Crescent is now Joe Kadenge. Okay? Joe Kadenge, that road was renamed after he died. Yusuf Haji, it was renamed after he died. Kenneth Matiba, after he died. Wangari Maathai, after she died. The attempt to rename Dick Road into Francis Atoli Road
died.
There was serious outcry from various activists who are saying, why? What has he done? How do you deserve it? Now, the question that comes to my mind all the time is, do you just wake up and willy-nilly decide,
That one.
Let's rename, there's a road that cuts this expressway. Because Uhuru has done a good job, let's call it Uhuru Kenyatta Expressway, which goes into
Uhuru Highway.
It has nothing to do with the president.
When you are down, you're on Uhuru Highway. When you're up, you're on Uhuru Kenyatta Expressway. Can we just do those things? Just like wake up like that. Mtu amesaidia sana hii Kenya. What is the procedure? We have with us on the line the MCA who moved this particular motion to rename Mbagathi to Raila Odinga. MCA Peter Imwatok. Good morning.
Morning to you, Latif.
How are you doing, Peter?
I'm doing fine.
Good to speak to you, and thank you very much for agreeing to talk to us.
Thank you, bro.
Let's start from the very beginning. How did you just wake up one day and think, Raila amesaidia sana hii Kenya. Let's rename something after him. And then you did a picky ponky and settled on Mbagathi.
I had a donkey.
Latif, in our city there are roads that even you and I know that there are cities. If you ask the reasons why they were named after this name, you can't even explain. Even if you go to archives to understand it, you can't get it. Like the Mbagathi in a Kikuyu language seems like somebody who is just confused, if you go deep into details, Bagad, in Kikuyu land, I'm told something like somebody who's confused, just confusion. So it brings a narrative that why leave a road that depicts a society in a negative way than to transform into positivity.
So
okay. And basically, my looking was Raila Odinga is not just a name that we can just pop in anyhow anywhere. As you're aware, he's a long-serving member of parliament for Langata constituency.
Yeah.
This is the only man who dared to resign from parliament. I've never remembered another one since I was born. And went back to his constituency, began his own party, and won back a re-election, come back to parliament, and shaped the future of our country. And me, as a minority in this city, to me, serving with him for the 10 years I've been a leader, it's a privilege. And seeing this country moving forward, now him at his age, still struggling to make a difference in our country, we deserve to see that he sees what we're doing for him to appreciate him.
Okay. So, Peter, the two things that you said, and I think they're interesting, and if we should not link them, please explain. You said, all right, if we're looking at this particular road, so were you saying, hold on a minute, there are a couple of roads in the city which we don't even understand why they've been named. That's on its own. Then here is this gentleman who's had great impact on your life as an individual and clearly on the country by his, political, social development agenda, right?
Yes.
So is it that you said, okay, so we would like to honor him in one way, and at the same time, here's a road for which has been given a name that really depicts a negative, depicts society in a negative light. So individual, road whose name doesn't really make sense, can we not just then honor him by giving his name to this road? Is that how you made the link between the two?
No. I was just trying to bring an aspect that in our growing as our age now, we are also growing old, that most of the road we don't really understand their meanings. Like somewhere it was used to be called First Avenue. And then there's this Kenyatta Avenue used to be called government road. It was into Kenyatta Avenue. You'll find yourself, it's something historical. What I wanted to break the ice here was that we don't honor our people when they are long gone. Let them see when you are honoring them that indeed the sacrifice they had. For instance, Raila Odinga spending in prison 9 years, coming out there and saying, no, this country still deserves changes that we need. Today we enjoy the fruit of devolution. As I'm speaking to you, I'm the chair of KEMSA Games in Kenya. We are hosting all state county assemblies and all types of county assembly in Mombasa for the last week for the game. If today was not the struggle of Raila Odinga to bring the devolution, even these governors perambulating left and right center, stealing left and right center, we could not have devolution. And in the real sense, devolution has come to hasten our growth in the society. Remember when Raila speaks about it Mbai, he says, if that young man Mbai could not stand up and defend what I believed in, today we could not have devolution. So basically, we are honoring Raila not just because a human being that we need to honor to please ourselves. We are honoring to show that the society and the world, that this man, even the world appreciates him. What about us ourselves?
Okay.
And I'm very particular about him.
We cannot argue about that, though. But Mheshimiwa Imwatok, what is the procedure of naming and renaming roads and other infrastructure in Nairobi County?
Basically, when you look at the Constitution, they've transferred functions of a county government and the county, for instance, public works, roads, advertisements, environment, health, and other issues are devolved functions. One of the procedures in parliamentary practices, you must bring a notice of motion before Parliament. A notice of motion has to be satisfied, has grounds and particulars that can hold, that does not impede in any way the law. After that, the Speaker has to approve that notice of motion, which you will table before the Assembly, and then the House Business Committee will have also to sit and to it again. Look at it legally. Does it infringe any standing law? If it is not, it's upon you now to lobby members to support you before the floor of the House. Basically, the naming of Raila Odinga Way passed through all parliamentary procedures.
Is there a policy that supports this whole motion? For example, now that this road has been named Raila Odinga Way this morning, if another member rises up in the assembly in 2 years' time and decides this same Raila Odinga road should be named Martin Shikuku, is it possible for the county assembly, just because a majority passes, for us to rename it again?
That's why you see there are procedures before you're allowed to pass a motion of renaming a particular road. You must bring on the table historical meaning of this road. Why do you feel should be changed? Does it infringe any fundamental human right? For instance, you cannot just come and say now Kenyatta Avenue to be changed into Imwatok Avenue.
Why not?
That's historical. It is historical. From government road, it was named after our first founding president. You cannot just come and say I'm renamed. But also the county government, as it's currently assembly, we are developing a policy which will be tabled soon before assembly to be passed. That before any further road, look at what happened at the Big Road.
Yes.
It was not phantom because the procedure upon which this was done, people felt it was not right. Have you seen any uproar from Raila Odinga way? No.
Not yet.
It followed proper channels and procedures.
It's just happened this morning.
Just started now. You don't know what the day will bring.
I can guarantee you'll never see that in Kenya.
But you see, that's the point that I was trying to raise, Mheshimiwa. The fact that you're doing something without a policy yet. So the county assembly is now starting to consider a policy which was actually developed. It was drafted by the NMS.
I'm not saying that you don't have a policy. Remember, I'm not saying we don't have policies. Remember, the county governments were brought into place, replacing the county, the municipal council.
Yes.
Where in absence of a municipal policy, the bylaws of the municipal council still applies. Therefore, currently as it is, everything you do that has no policy, has no act before the county government, the bylaws of the then municipal councils continue to apply.
You know, I have to ask this question, Mheshimiwa. All these years after we put into operation devolution, surely, should a policy on such an important matter should it not have actually been enacted?
In fact, that's a nice question because looking at it, policy are being developed by the executive. In fact, after this this motion was passed, I remember the CC for Public Works calling me saying, now, after this, we are looking on how to develop a policy, in which I believe that you cannot dictate the executive on what to do.
No, but you can push them.
Oversight. No, our job is oversight, legislation, and representation. Mind if I legislate today, I stand and say, I want this to be done, it's upon executive to see. You know, a motion is not mandatory to be implemented. If the executive feels that this motion is not implementable within the premise of the law, it can return it back to the county assembly. But by the time the executive implements this particular issue, they know there is no hindrance in any law.
Yes, but Mheshimiwa, surely the assembly also has the powers to also create and bring in laws, don't they?
We create laws, we don't develop policies.
You could influence the executive to develop a policy.
That's why you see one of the influence is when the executive now sees there's a mirage of motions in name and design. They'll have now to come with a policy. That's what exactly. In fact, I'm happy. If my motion has instigated the executive now to come up with a policy within the planning department, so that's big, and we will support it fully in assembly going forward.
Did the role that Raila Odinga play in making that Mbagathi Way an all-concrete road, did it play in the decision-making to rename the road after him?
Remember, in Kenyan history, since we got independence, this is the only man who has been appointed the infrastructure ambassador in Africa. I don't know when again Kenya will get such a honor. And one of the reasons why Raila the ambassador for infrastructure in Africa is basically of his infrastructural development. Remember, he has always said infrastructure. And Mbagathi Way is a typical example. If Kenyans could have today followed the instruction he gave as an engineer, that this is a standard of roads we require in Kenya, we could not spend a lot of money repairing roads. Look at in Eldoret. Somebody was saying, Judy, all the roads which were built between 2007, 2002, and 2013 are still intact. But the roads which were built between 2013 in the rift to date, they are all washed out by
Mheshimiwa, is that really true, or is it just being said anecdotally?
It is not us. It is people from the rift. When having a meeting,
personally, Mheshimiwa Motok, I don't have a problem with acknowledging and appreciating the role that an individual has played in the society. And in fact,
No
that's the
individual
whole
like
reason why we honor them. We honor them for what they've done. My problem, and I'm going to say this clearly, the problem that I have with this particular, the fact that you went and moved a motion and it went on and there has been no policy at all, is purely that there has been no policy. No policy guides. How do we determine which road to name after a certain individual? How do we determine which individual to honor this time? Is there, there should be, in my opinion, a group of residents of Nairobi who look back and periodically look at how do we honor those that have made a difference in Nairobi or in the country. There should be some very serious public participation on this. Your public participation, I'm sure you'll tell me it was there because it's one of the requirements of the National Assembly. But to what extent was public participation done, for example, in this particular move?
Latif, we have a Public Participation Act passed before the County Assembly of Nairobi.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you for free, in matters of motion, are not the same in matters of legislation.
Yep.
Those are two different aspects.
Yes.
In parliamentary practices. Number two, the issue at hand was the procedures followed, laid down procedures as it is now, not perspective, what will happen in the future. I've just told you, Tomboya Street was called First Avenue Road. Kenyatta Avenue was called Government Road. At what point was it changed? When you go into archives, you'll find the council then, by the stroke of Arungu, they made that determination.
Yes.
And I said, historically, under our constitution, anything within a county government that has no applicable act or policy, the bylaws of that particular county, then the county government, the council applies.
Yes.
The difference is under Article 1 of the Constitution. That's why the supreme power of the county government of Nairobi is vested on the elected and nominated MPs under Article 1 to represent the interests of the people. And I've not seen any public person from Kenya.
Let's reword that. The supreme power is vested on the citizens and they delegate it to the elected representatives. Not the other way around.
These elected representatives can exercise the power on behalf of the people.
Yep.
And the only way they can exercise this is through resolution.
So was there public participation in this?
Public, as in?
Did you conduct public participation? Were there meetings that you organized where people could come in and give their views? Do you think that this is a good way to go to raise?
I've been a parliamentarian for 10 years. I'm trying to teach you or to educate the masses. There's a difference between an act and a motion.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That's true.
You don't subject motions into public participation.
This is a matter of public interest. No. It is not about rules in Motok. It's about practice. This is a matter that you know is going to bring about public interest. You knew as you were going through the motion here that a similar attempt at renaming another road had raised concern. And the concern of the public was?
Let me tell you one thing. If you ask Boniface Mwangi, why was he opposed to Diki Road, he will tell you, we did not find a clear picture of procedures followed. Number one, there was no notice of motion before Parliament. The notice of motion was brought, a motion was placed before Parliament. The following day, it was renamed. Look at this. When was this motion passed? If there is any citizen of Nairobi who had an objection to this motion to be implemented by the executive could have, at this time, 14 days later, having submitted a request saying, I am objective to this, before the executive to implement this. We have a parliamentary committee called Implementation Committee. The moment you pass any motion, it goes through this committee, which has to communicate to executive within 60 days. If there is a challenge to its effect, this committee will definitely take action upon it on motions, not acts. Acts are subjective and policies to public participation.
Mheshimiwa, it is clear that some of these processes that we follow, in the absence of, very simply, a clear guideline as to what should be done, the debate such as the one we're having will always be there. Now, if somebody comes up with another motion, and Eric asked this question, and I'm going back to it, 3 years from now, and decides that they want to change the name of Raila Odinga Way to some other name, Is it something that is possible if we were to follow the procedures that we followed in renaming Mbagathi Way?
It's not possible. Why? In parliamentary practices, you are taught the Speaker of the County Assembly cannot approve any motion that is contradictory to other previous motions passed in the same house. So it's not possible.
You know why I asked this question? You said that in the absence of any clear legislative practice, we go back to the rule that governed the local authorities. So I'm taking the view that local authorities had a process. And that process is what we currently use as a guide when we make such decisions. Did I understand you correctly, Mheshimiwa?
I said, in absence of policies
Yes.
with the current county government,
Yes.
the local authorities then by law still are applicable.
Yes. So what I'm saying is, if the local authorities' laws, for instance, brought into being the naming of Dick Dick Road, now, when that road was now being renamed, or it was Accra Road, it was being renamed, all these roads, Forest Road, they were being renamed. Those names had been there under those municipality laws. Was there then not a contradiction in a previous ruling when you then renamed them and gave them new names? Going by those same dictates of the local authorities.
Come again?
Okay. I am saying that when the roads were named previously, the laws and the guidelines that we used were based, enshrined in what was the local authority. Okay? So I'm saying...
Yeah, we can say that. We can say that. That's true. But also, we must also be pleased with the fact that some of this, we found them having been named. Even the local authority archives, you cannot find it. How was it originated to?
How what was originated?
For instance, in 1949, 48 or something, when First Avenue Road was changed in 1964, 65, when First Avenue was changed to Tomboya, what informed that? You'll find because there was an incident which took place in First Avenue Road on Tomboya, and then they say to honor Tomboya, we change this road into what?
Into
It's a sign
Tomboya
of
Street.
respect.
Yep.
Tomboya Street. Kenyatta Avenue in 1948, 58. After the Mau Mau and everything, they say this road has to change from Government Road to Kenyatta Avenue. If you go to archives, because before you bring any motion before Assembly, my brothers, you must do a research.
Yeah.
And the research indicates some of the things we are correcting now are things that were done even before our fathers were born. And I agree with you. That a policy is required of, and we've already initiated a process through the planning committee that before we comprehensively end this assembly session, we must have a policy now in place. And that's the role of the executive to do. And I am the acting governor has also taken this seriously, and she's very keen to make sure that before this assembly kind of an end, there's a policy on naming and renaming of public institutions and public facilities.
All right, Emotok, thank you very much for speaking to us. You say you're in Mombasa.
Yeah, I'm the president of KEMSA Games, all county assemblies and parliaments in Kenya and East Africa.
Well, congratulations to you, sir, and we thank you for honoring us by making time to talk to us.
All these courtesy of mentorhood by Raila Amolo Odinga.
Thank you.
Peter Emotok, asante sana for speaking to us. He's the MCA in the Nairobi County Assembly. It is 28 minutes to 10. Let's take a break, take a look at the roads and also the weather forecast for the rest of the day. So, Mbagathi Way has now been renamed Raila Odinga Way. What are your thoughts on that? Let's hear this as we continue to have this conversation. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
When you see someone being jailed, a governor or two or someone who stole, then people will fear. Because our problem is not the borrowing, it's the stealing.
We've become actually a nation of thieves. The only thing we lack is an opportunity to steal.
The guys who quote the Bible and say, I'm a Christian and all that, and you know they're thieves. Return what you have stolen 4 times. If you know that you have property or anything that you have stolen, just return and say, my God does not allow me to hold stolen things.
We are also a reflection of you, because you elect us. You know, we don't get into our office by ourselves. We are a reflection of the people who elect us.
We don't want to go to the streets. We have a constitution that enables us, assert our will.
When the legislature are now being taken as hostage by the executive for whatever reason, We are now bound by what they want us to do.
This is just outside the realms of reality. We have impunity written into the DNA of our political class.
How old were you when you learned that Jeshi la Wokovu is Jeshi la Wokovu?
I can't say it very well. You know, Jeshi la Wokovu.
And everyone knows. Okay.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Sunny conditions in Nairobi at 21, highs of 23 and lows of 16 today. It's mostly cloudy at 23 in Nakuru, we'll see highs of 26. 23 will be the high in a mostly cloudy Nyeri, currently at 21. Eldoret is also cloudy this morning and going to highs of 24 and lows of 13. Still continues to rain in certain parts of Mombasa at 29, highs of 32 and lows of 24. And we're also looking at sunny conditions in Malindi at 28, highs of 31. Kisumu is cloudy this morning at 25, highs of 26 and lows of 18. And Kakamega, looking at cloudy conditions at 25, highs of 27 and lows of 15. In Kampala, it's partly sunny at 22, highs of 25 and lows of 16. And Dar es Salaam, sunny at 30, highs of 31 and lows of 24. Johannesburg is sunny at 21, highs of 27 and lows of 15. We're looking at mostly cloudy conditions in Lagos at 25, rain intermittent, highs of 32 and lows of 24. It's sunny in Kinshasa at 25, highs of 33 and lows of 23. Sunny conditions going into early evening in Beijing at 12, highs of 16 and lows of 11. It's clear in Paris. Winter has really started to kick in. 12 will be the high and lows of 2 degrees, and clear in London, highs of 10 today. And New York is clear at 6. We'll see highs coming into Friday, 12 and lows of 4.
Spice up your life.
All going into the CBD on Bagathi Raila Odinga Way this morning. Quite some traffic as you get to the roundabout coming off from Gong Road today, and that's inbound traffic towards the city. Uhuru Highway still continues, and there's a lot of feeder roads coming into that, creating quite some traffic for that today. Juja Road, that's not been seen for a while. Juja Road, quite some traffic as well. Coming out of Muthui, Kiambu Road, a mess. But the Thika Superhighway, clear and free. Not too much of an issue now. That has definitely cleared up this morning. Shall we keep looking at things through Friday? SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text on 40127.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. SpiceFM.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM,
All right, it
Nairobi.
continues. What is it? What has John done to you?
Gazeti zangu.
Oh, John, chunga sana. It is 23 minutes to 10. The conversation continues. So, Mbagathi Way has now been renamed what? Raila Odinga Way. Let's hear, what are your thoughts on this? MCA Matok is talking about a policy that's now before the County Assembly of Nairobi. Yes, it was developed by the NMS. And a letter written to the Speaker of the Nairobi County Assembly, Benson Mutura, on the 16th of August by Lieutenant General Mohammed Abdi Badi talks about how they went about developing this policy. This draft policy says a task force was constituted and has completed the policy formulation process for the Nairobi City County property addressing and street naming policy, which includes, but was not limited to, stakeholder engagement and public participation as follows. They say they had public participation on the 21st of June 2021 with the ministries and agencies. Then they brought in professional bodies on the 22nd of June. Then residents' associations on the 23rd of June 2021. Then the general public was invited to come and contribute to the development of this policy. On the 24th of June 2021, MCC Assembly and Executive Leadership was also brought in on the 8th of July, and Sectoral Committee on Planning and Housing brought in on the 19th of July. So he goes on to say that the Constitution of Kenya provides that a county assembly may receive and approve plans and policies for the development and management of county infrastructure and institutions. There's urgent need to approve this policy in order to realize the benefits. And now the benefit, the policy itself is here, which was developed by the chairperson of this particular task force, the Director General of the Metropolitan Services, the chairperson of the task force, policy formulation chairperson of Colonel Joseph Biombo, and the work that they've done. What does it have? It has how we are going to rename our buildings, our streets, and as a policy for Nairobi. There was public participation.
Okay.
If you are a member of a resident association and did not participate in public participation in June, hiyo ni shauri yako. You had left the country.
They told you and you didn't come.
That's your problem. It's before the county assembly now. It is being discussed and it shall soon become policy. I like the idea that there is a policy that's being discussed. Now, I wish that it's going to be discussed thoroughly on how best do we want to name. Remember, there has been all this talk of, there are some parts of this city where you go and a building is no longer called Londro House, it's now called 22 Standard Street. Somebody came up and said, no, let's do this like they do in New York. Let's start naming this. So this hotel, we're not going to call it Hilton Hotel. We're going to call it whatever. 1349 Kimathi.
Tricky, isn't it?
Yes. So do we have a policy on naming of roads? There are parts where you go and you find a new estate is coming up. And the person who was the first here is the one who gets the name of the estate.
Yeah, there's an even bigger discussion when it comes to the naming
Beijing Road.
Yes. I mean, some of them,
Lu Kyung Wang,
like Groggan Road. Groggon. There's a historical aspect to some of these things that has also been a subject of debate as to whether we should obliterate and erase all history, colonial and otherwise, that we think is not important. Now, when there's a policy such as one you say, then these things are taken into account. So you understand the reason why this was maintained and this was removed is because of A, B, C, D.
Right.
Okay. But in the absence of that, it's a Wild West debate.
Well, there it is. In the absence of such things, then it would appear as though you can then come up at any time in the manner in which you want and just basically do whatever you want, so long as you've you've tabled a motion or whatever it is that you've done. You can do whatever you like, right? And I think we need to be clear that it's not an issue that a road is being named after a particular individual or that whatever honor is being bestowed by doing that. That's not the point of contention, but that the processes in which or through which things are done are very important, because it does not, in fact, it invites probably more drama than you would need. Because somebody would always come up tomorrow and say, hold on a minute. If we're now going to deal with historical, we're going to deal with procedural, we're going to deal with honor, etc., patriotism, this, that, the other thing, then should we then also not be involved in making this decision? I don't think anybody would have an issue.
Central to every decision.
Absolutely. I don't think anybody would have an issue if now they were involved, because you would be said, look, we asked you to come, this is what you said, this is what we arrived at. Because then what stops me from coming tomorrow and saying, actually, you know what? The way in which you did that, I wasn't really satisfied with it. And I think this road should be named after this other individual. But you've already set the precedent for that. Anybody can come along later and say, I think this ought to be changed. Procedure. I think process and procedure is very necessary for some of these things.
Do you know this?
Otherwise, you have a mess.
Of political boundaries, the decisions, the process that then create constituencies. The amount of public participation that is actually involved is actually immense. And all this happened and was legislated, and it was known before devolution. Discussions would be had up to the grassroots. I mean, and also, people were allowed to petition. They were allowed to say, you know something, as we think we need our own constituency. And the reason we want it is A, B, C, D. What am I saying? Public participation has been an integral part of the way we do very many things in this country. Now, unfortunately, in the 21st century, the information age, people are very well informed and they are keen to participate. In a time gone by, whether a road was named so and so and so, yeah, it was named, okay, fine, good. I will still call it what I used to call it. I mean, you can give it a name, but as far as I'm concerned, this is the name of the road. Okay? Do you know, for the longest time, there's a road in Mombasa. It's called Digo Road. There are people who never refer to it as Digo Road. And it's not that they're being obtuse about it. It's just that when they grew up, the road had a different name, and that is the road, that is the name that... They mean no harm. They're not trying to disparage that name and say it doesn't have meaning. Now, nobody kicks a fuss, so if you want to call it whatever you want to call it,
it's okay.
That is fine. But gazetted, this is what it is called. Now,
it's like Grogan Road and Kirinyaga. Grogan Road is actually Kirinyaga Road now.
Yes. But there are people who still call it Grogan.
Yeah,
to date.
Grogan.
Yes, it's called Grogan. Now, what am I saying?
No.
It becomes... it's our politics now creeping into a space simply because we didn't cordon it off and we didn't ring fence it with policies that one can easily refer to and say, excuse me, this decision was arrived at following this.
Yeah, it's important to do, however.
It's important to have some procedure in place. As well, let's discuss at what point do you honor somebody? Because there's been that debate. Should you be naming roads posthumously in honor of people? Or should you be naming them at any time, even when they're alive, at whatever point? You know, something could emerge about somebody long after they're dead, and they're like, yeah, it's true. This person deserves to be recognized. So you recognize them. Or something could happen, and we see, Eliud Kipchoge is doing so much for this country. Let's actually name a road after Eliud Kipchoge. He's still alive, name a road after Eliud. But it should be clear.
And also, what about monumental events that have taken place? We talk about Uhuru Highway. You're talking about Independence. Harambee Avenue. What else should we consider in the naming of roads beyond people whom we feel have achieved or have done great things for the country? Okay. And if it's something that is, should we say, put into practice, then it also acts as, should we say, a yardstick that other people can go by.
Can use.
Because there are places that before devolution, whatever centers they had were not even towns. They were townlets. Okay? But with time, they have grown and they're becoming urbanized.
That's true.
So how are they going to go about their business? When you already have such a policy, what you've done is you've created a benchmark that somebody can say, you know, this is how they've gone about the business of doing this and the other. It's like this idea of planning. When you think of planning and you think of road reserves, for many people, in a time gone by, road reserve was a suggestion, meaning there's all this space. I mean, so you can just
use it.
Have it allocated and build. There's a reason why planners have that road reserve. You know why? They plan, and planning is futuristic. It's aspirational. We are thinking and we can project that at this point in time, the population will be this, and we will need to do this. And the services will require A, B, C, D. So let's create space for it. Now, when you then congest every little space that you have, and you want to put a building in every little space.
Poor planning. Let's go to the phone line, 0719-012-600. So, Bagathi Way has been renamed Raila Odinga Way as of this morning. What are your thoughts on that? Karaoke in Lavington, good morning.
Good morning, Ozan Trio.
Good morning, Karaoke.
Good morning.
Mko wazima?
Kabisa.
Now, this road naming, Manenos, my view is that I don't know whether any one of you has been to Kigali. There is no road named after, especially in the city, after individuals.
No.
They have a code, and it actually eases navigation. You know, when you talk about Google Maps navigation, it makes it easy for physical addresses. I don't think. I think we should emulate or we should adapt such a naming convention rather than naming it after individuals, because naming roads after individuals stokes controversy, because we don't have a body or a committee that actually looks at who are the heroes that we should immortalize. So I feel we shouldn't be so. And you know, a lot of these roads are actually named after
politicians.
And every day I read the papers and I read about, you know, many unsung heroes who've done small things, some of them significant things. They're never immortalized. And these are the people we need to be immortalized, if at all. to galvanize, national patriotism, to inspire people to do good without, contemplating any sort of benefit.
Yes.
So in the absence of such a committee, which I feel actually should be made up of a good number of representation from the media, because they go out and report a lot about, these heroes in the grassroots. In the absence of that, I feel we should emulate Kigali.
Give them numbers.
Where you have, yes, because somebody can be a hero to me, but to city, that person does not, fall within the, it can be subjective.
That's true. That's very true. Thank you, Kariuki.
Yeah, so that's my take.
Asante. Amos in Nairobi, good morning.
Yes, good morning.
How are you?
Morning. I'm very fine. I also have to share my contribution in the same.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think, just like we did with the money, we realized it was becoming a bit of not possible, because assuming we have several presidents, and then each and every president we ensure that their head is on the money.
Yeah.
It was going to bring the conflict of interest. Now, you ask a very good question which was never answered. Like now, if tomorrow maybe me as a citizen, I say that I'm not okay with the Bagati Road to be named Raila Odinga, then I come up with another proposal.
Call it Moi Kibaki.
Or even call it me.
Yeah, call it.
Yes,
Yeah, call it
that is
Amos.
correct. Call it Amos.
Yes, Amos Road. What makes it impossible for the same?
Yeah.
You see, that is now the conflict of interest we are talking about, because we have very many heroes. So my suggestion was just like when you talk about the Uhuru Highway, the Harambee Highway, at least they're symbolic.
Yeah.
If there is a way we can come up with some symbolic names, because if you start talking of the heroes, then in the near future almost everybody will be a hero. Even me, I might not be a hero in the whole Kenya, but at least in my capacity, I'm a hero.
That's true.
So yes. So that one, I think that one we should come up with a symbolic name, or even the code. I support the first caller to avoid the confusion, and also to minimize the conflict of interest, which
Thank
in
you.
future might happen. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Amos. Edwin in Mombasa, on Mombasa Road. Are you on Mombasa
Good
Road?
morning.
Good morning, Edwin.
No, I'm in town.
You're in town. Okay.
Yes. How are you, Eric and Maureen?
Very well,
We're fine,
thank you.
Thank you.
Now, things in our country we have adopted to naming roads after people. It is in the best interest that it's done posthumously. Because, for example, I'm a Catholic, and you know that when you are naming things, you have to have lived and passed on to the next world.
Yep.
Take a situation where maybe you name a street after maybe Kamau Road. Then this guy, later on in life, he becomes a national disgrace. Like now, he's maybe prosecuted of drug trafficking and whatever. Do you start now renaming the road? So if it has to be done, let it be done posthumously. If we must continue naming the roads after people.
You're saying if we must. What would you prefer? Would you prefer we continue naming them after people, even posthumously, or would you prefer we use a different nomenclature?
We can name them after people posthumously.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Thank you very much, Edwin.
Have a nice day.
You too. So there needs to be, I guess that's a message here, that proper structure, even with this policy, let the policy establish. But these structures are there. The one for honoring national heroes and giving national awards, it's there. There's a team that should be chaired, I don't know by who, I don't know whether it's the deputy president or who, that determines City Muga this time gets OGW.
Which one is that one?
OGW. It's the big one. The one that respects the OG.
Okay.
Yeah, but does it work? We keep complaining about it every time. So why is it that so-and-so has only been given a head of state commendation, and so has been given an order of the Golden Warrior, and so has been called something? Why? Why MBE? Why?
But I think there might be an attitude or feeling, latent or otherwise, that the general public doesn't really care about these things. And I think it's clear that they do.
They do.
That people are invested in who you are going to name the things they see on a daily basis, or the people that they interact with, or the people that represent them. They want to know that they're involved in the process where these individuals are honored. But I think at the same time, sometimes when you see these decision-making processes taking place, that there is that feeling in the back of the minds of those who start them that, okay, we can just do it as we want. Nobody's really bothered about this process.
Doesn't matter.
But it doesn't really matter, right? We're going to name it. It's going to be there. It's not going to change the price of bread, right? But it does play some importance in the minds of people. And I think once it starts to touch on that, it is extremely important, and you have to take it into consideration. It cannot be ignored. It cannot be swept under the carpet. So that's why we're insisting and saying that, you know what, the policies and processes through which you do these things then need to be clear, crystal clear, that this is the way it's done. This is what will happen in the event that 1, 2, 3 does not happen. Moving forward, this is how it will be done in the future. You don't do that, then you're giving rise to that belief that it really doesn't matter what the people generally feel or how they think. And once you start in the small things like this, or the big things, showing that you are interested in how the people feel about processes, you'll find that you start to change a great number of things. People are involved in naming a road. You then come back to the people. Did we not talk about it today? Like this general hippie who is in the country today, the people of the UK said, hello, don't allow this thing to just pass like that. We're not going to allow it. Whether it's the naming of a road, whether it's the naming, or whether it's the calling of what you're going to do with taxpayers' money, that they're truly invested in that. You can't do it in the small things. Don't be surprised that you will not be able to do it in the larger things. Accountability on a national level. How will you start telling people that they need to know how much debt that they owe as a country, or what national contracts look like, if in the very basic naming of a road you're not involving them? Do you see how the domino effect plays out here? I think it tells a lot then about if you're able to involve your people at what would look at it as a very basic level, you can do that even on a grander scale.
And in the absence of a policy, you then removed objectivity and uniformity. So that, again, I call it, you have introduced a Wild Wild West narrative here, meaning anything and everything goes. Now, when you do this, when there's a policy, you then give tradition an opportunity to develop.
Yeah.
So over time, people know and understand the way these things are done.
It's like
this is like this. But like this one now, oh, it's like this. And then, no, it's not quite like that. It's like this.
Like
No. It's actually like the other. Now,
why give Raila only a 5-kilometer stretch of road?
Yes, exactly.
I mean, for what
It's
he has
not even
contributed. We should give him a longer one.
Western Kenya, floating Kenya.
An entire... So Ngong Road is taking us to Ngong. Even if you don't call it Ngong Road, you will still go to Ngong.
That's why
Why
it's
not
called Ngong Road.
name Ngong Road Raila Odinga? It's at least longer.
Yes.
If we want to honor him fully.
Completely. We know it ends.
Yes. That will be the argument that's not coming in.
But is this not what it sounds ridiculous?
And that
but
road
that is what
traverses-
you do. You open the door and anything now will be able to fly in.
Yes.
It traverses the entire constituency that he did. He
The places in Kenya that he has
that he
touched.
represented for a very long time.
Yes.
Now, you see, problem, that is what happens when you do not have laid down processes that people can understand and refer to.
And neither can you call it crazy that folks would think in that manner, because I mean, what are you stopping and what are you inviting? Anything is welcome. Anything can be discussed or debated at this point.
Oh, no.
Because it is my opinion.
Open season.
Absolutely. It is my opinion. You cannot tell me that it doesn't make sense. You've only given him 2 kilometers. Do you know the impact that he has had on the lives of... No.
Billy. Even you people are joking.
You know, look at processes and procedures that we understand. Matters go to Parliament. There are all these committees that we know. We even know, and you'll even be told it's before this committee. Why? It's tradition, and like clockwork, that is the process that it follows. If it doesn't, you'll know, this one has fallen through the cracks. Now, but again, within those systems, there'll be an omnibus situation where they understand there are things we want to pass, but if we take it as a single motion, it's going to create a problem. So why don't we just give it a wholesale approach? Lump it in with the others. So you focus on the ones which people don't find contentious, but the other ones are
just
right
slide
in there.
them in nicely.
And it's passed. And you ask, hey, when did we pass this thing?
But it's here, you didn't see? It's in the list.
Yeah. Thank you for tuning in to Kenya's biggest conversation this week. We'll be back next week, God willing, from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Monday. What happens tomorrow?
Olivia Otieno has a show, and it starts at 10 o'clock until 2 p.m. Music by women, topics about women, and their issues presented by a woman.
Very good. That and many more that you'll be tuning into in the on SpiceFM throughout the weekend. CT Muga, proverb.
A zebra takes its stripes wherever it goes. Enap olio tiko isirat enelo.
Enap is not a rat. It has stripes.
And when it's moving, there's an etiko beside it.
Tiko goes with it. Thank you for tuning in to Kenya's biggest conversation. The interview with Noordin Haji that happened at 6 a.m. is already online. You can watch it if you missed it. And the conversations on Twitter, SpiceFM KE, and Facebook, SpiceFM KE as well. Have a lovely weekend, folks. Good morning to you. It's now 10 a.m.